Hello and welcome to the Rock Will Eat Itself podcast. My name is Joanne and I'll be joined by Ross and Ray in this episode to discuss our favourite music venues in Glasgow. If you'd like to check out any of the other stuff that we do, you can check out Rock Will Eat Itself on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, where we post our monthly reviews. If you have a spare bit of cash at the moment, you want to do a good thing for the live music sector at these times, the Music Venues Trust is doing a great crowdfunding campaign at the moment. Now if you just go into saveourvenues.co.uk, you'll be able to directly support the venues there, or you can just contribute to the general fundraising section. Hope you enjoy the show. So yeah, let's talk about our venues.
Yeah, totally. There's
Right.
many great venues in town.
So we're just going to do from 10 to 1, and I'll start off, and then Ross can go after me, and then Ray can go after.
Sure,
Yep.
yeah. I should also
So
maybe throw in, just like, this isn't like a from bad to good kind of list. It's like, I think I speak for all of us in saying that all venues in town have their merits
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. So this is a kind of from good to the best, or from good to even better kind of list. I don't know. I just hate being negative.
yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of gigs in Glasgow. Gigs, there's gigs as well, but there's
Oh, there
hundreds of
used to be
venues.
gigs.
Yeah, yes, hundreds of venues in Glasgow. So these are like the top 10. So I'll start off then. My number 10. Well, I was kind of stuck between my number 10 and my number 11. My number 10 originally was going to be the QMU, as in the Queen Margaret Union on the West End, if anybody isn't aware. But the QMU is, we've talked about it a lot. It's
Yep.
not changed all that much since probably the 90s.
Yeah, I think
And
you two have probably been to there more than I have. I think I've only
yeah,
been to like maybe a handful or just over amount of gigs there. It's a good
yeah,
venue, but I totally agree. It is like one of these kind of places. It's like walking into like a portal back into like 80s, 90s student life, you know?
yeah. I've just written down a few of the gigs I've been to. I've been to what's that one? Two. I've been to 5 gigs there. Twin Atlantic, the Wonder Years, Behemoth, Sun, and the Menzingers. So
Oh, son.
pop punk and really extreme stuff. But yeah, the QMU has some sound problems that really
Oh yeah.
offset its good parts. Like we and Ross went to Behemoth and they cut off the sound. The fire alarm
Oh,
went off twice.
yeah. I can
Yeah, I
imagine
was I
that.
was so excited to see At the Gates that night, and I think it was halfway through their set that they just wandered off and no one knew what was going on, and then they just
Yeah,
came back on like 15 minutes later, and it was just really weird.
and they have sound problems and they have like a kind of organization problem. Every gig I've been to is like you've been queuing up and the gig started before anybody's even in the venue. And you can hear them playing from out the queue, which
hmm
never really happens in other venues. Once you're in, it's usually quite good. It's just getting in and getting out that's a problem.
Yeah, logistically, it's
One door
could be
or
a
two
tad bit
doors.
better laid out. I think
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, when Sun had finished playing, when me and you had seen them,
yeah.
they had the right idea of opening up that extra set of doors
Oh yeah, you have to.
next to the front door. Yeah, totally
Yeah.
have to. Not only just to let people out, but to let airflow in.
Oh yeah.
You
And the
know,
cloakroom is just like
It's the
outside of it as
worst.
well. It's
It's not a
just
great
yeah.
place, you know.
Like once
It,
you're in, it's usually okay, and like other than the sound problems I had at Behemoth, like it's actually a pretty good venue. Like
yeah,
it's
like you
usually it always feels full. Like
Yeah, that's. I think it's kind of more. It's one of these kind of. It's longer vertically than it is
yeah,
horizontally, that
yeah,
kind of thing. So rather than being a long venue like
yeah,
most, it's a wide one. So
yeah,
that only works so well logistically. But you know, considering what it is, they do a really good job. I'd like to
yeah.
think, you know.
So basically, that's not even on my list, but that's where the kind of boundary point was.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
but this took me a lot of thought because my number 10 ended up being the garage, which if anybody listening to this is from Glasgow, you'll know that the garage is.
Well, which part of the garage is the question? The
Oh,
main part?
that's the thing, right? If it was just the main room I was considering, it probably wouldn't have made the list. But I just made it the main room, G2, and the attic because
Oh, sure.
I've only been to a handful of gigs in the smaller rooms, so I didn't want to like separate them that way because
Yeah,
then
totally.
none of them would have been on the list. So I just put them all together and. Yeah, the garage. The main room isn't great. I think most of us can agree with that.
It's kind of up
The
and down, really. Like,
yeah,
it really does kind of depend who you're seeing. I think because they do cover such a wide variety of music, you know, you could be going there to see a rock band, a metal band,
yeah, dance acts. All that
a
kind of
dance band, an electronic band,
yeah,
not even necessarily a band, you know, a DJ,
yeah.
that kind of thing, more commonly, I would imagine. So I don't know if it's the same sound guy they have on all the time. They probably just kind of mix and match between the in-house sound guys
Yeah.
or sound guy singular and touring sound guys. But I mean, it's
It's
gotten a lot.
not
It's
it's
gotten a
it's
lot.
not the worst venue in town. Like it's made my top 10, but
But it does have its
it
moments.
does like the sound can be patchy.
Hmm.
I think it's just the shape of the room. Like it's got like the kind of seats at the side, and it's got the
Yeah,
kind of balcony bit all the like
the
along the
sound is
side.
the sound's hitting off a lot of surfaces in there, so
Yeah,
that's obviously going to affect it quite a bit. But I
yeah,
think it's definitely gotten a lot better in more recent years
yeah,
than from what I remember. My first
yeah.
couple of gigs there.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the garage is kind of nostalgic for me. Like the amount of
Oh yeah,
bands that I've seen when I was getting into music, where a lot of them
absolutely.
were at the garage. So like Motionless in White, Marmozets, that was
Oh my
mental.
God, I
Um,
can
and
imagine.
this moment was a weird gig as well because they were too big for that wee tiny stage,
I was going to
but it
say
was really good.
I can't imagine them playing in there. Like them more kind of like they'd easily fill at the academy these days.
Oh yeah, yeah. Obviously we seen Corrosion of Conformity. That was a really good gig.
That was a better. The sound that night was really good as well.
Yeah.
Who else was on that bill? It was Fireball
Orange
Ministry
Goblin
and Orange Goblin. Oh
and
man,
another band that I think I've split up.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, that was such a good lineup for like 20 quid though.
Yeah, Diar's Murder was good as well. It's just the garage just gets super full. Like when it's
Oh
full,
yeah,
it
yeah.
feels
You really do have to get
full.
there as close to doors as you can
Yeah,
to get a good space, and
and then
even
if you
then,
yeah if you leave the room and come back in, you're not getting anywhere close to the front. Or
yeah,
yeah,
because it's one of these great venues where it's really easy to notice the amount of people that turn up after the support bands have finished.
yep.
You know?
Yeah, like most of the gigs I've been to there have just, if they've sold out, it's felt just claustrophobically full, which is
Mm.
again one of the issues I have with it. But like
Mhm.
it's kind of offset by the smaller venues. So I've been to the G2 twice, I think. But
I've only been
the
in there once.
I
Yeah,
I'm
mean,
same.
sure.
I've been twice, but one of them was Miss May I, and there was like 20 people in the room, so I don't really count that.
Yeah.
Strafing Path was really full, but that was actually such a good gig. Like, kind of Rage Against the Machine type hardcore band,
Yeah.
and it was super fun.
The only band I've seen in there was Helmet on
Oh,
the
nice.
20 by 20 by 22, and that was amazing.
I
Like,
keep
there was
thinking
no
that was in
support
the main
band.
room.
Yeah, no, I thought it was going to be in the main room too. And then when I got there, I think it was actually supposed to be in the main room. And I
Oh,
got
right,
there,
yeah.
and at the very last minute, showing the night of the gig, they just put it into the G2. I suppose maybe because it didn't sell
Packet sales,
as
yeah.
much as it was, because they were still selling tickets in the door. So I don't know. It's such a mad thing to think about because it's Helmet.
Yeah, it
Like
must. I would imagine it would have been better in G2 anyway than being
yeah,
in probably in the bigger room, but that's kind of besides the point. So
it's
like last wee room in garage is attic, which is like 150 capacity, but it's never get that many people in it. But it's tiny.
easily
Um,
fill up though.
yeah.
Like it's even. I mean, I'll discuss it more in
Yeah.
length later on, that kind of thing.
Spoiler.
Yeah, total spoiler right there for you all. But it's definitely I definitely prefer that one of
Yeah.
the three guide rooms just because it's atmosphere. But sorry, this is your pick, Joe,
No,
so
that's
carry on
right. Um,
because I
I'm
could go
not.
on.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too much on that because we'll probably talk about it later. But
Absolutely.
I'm just like the attic's kind of picked up in how many gigs it's putting on recently, which is kind of annoying that this whole thing's
Yeah.
happened because
Uh-huh.
then we could have been at least a couple more times. But yeah, the garage.
I kind of noticed that too. Like it certainly has become a lot more of a popular venue. Well, certainly did before all this started
Yeah,
happening anyway. That kind of thing. So it's good to see because I've never really heard a bad word about the attic.
yeah,
You hear more kind of
with the main
pros
room.
and cons from the bigger rooms than
Yeah.
that one. So that one I guess is doing something right.
Yeah. So like that's why it's like kind of in my top 10 because the garage as a kind of space kind of caters for everything from the like smallest all the way up to, well, not the biggest, but relatively big. You can see most kind of
Yeah, kind of
moderate sized bands.
I suppose in a weird way the best of three worlds. I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. The sound isn't great in the main room, but still in my number 10. So yeah, that's my number 10. I'll go to Ross for your number 10.
Yeah, my number 10. I should say beforehand, I've only been going to gigs consistently like over a year, so my list is going to be like way more mainstream than your guys's. So that's why number 10 is SWG3, which I think is
Uh,
slightly controversial with it, Joanne's
uh,
Sigh.
I
Um,
I mean, honestly, like I see why people aren't too mad in SWG3, but anytime I've been there, it's been a relatively straightforward, enjoyable experience. So
Yeah, I'm the same
yeah,
because there was the only time I had like a bad experience wasn't like it was kind of more my fault because it was the only time during a gig I kind of went half deaf because a band was so loud. But
oh my God,
that's thrash metal
that
for you.
that wasn't electric, was it by chance? Was it?
That was destruction.
Ah, fair, fair. Aye.
Oh, right, so that was in the smaller room though, wasn't it? It wasn't in
I think
galvanizers.
yeah, it would have been
When
yeah.
when you say the smaller room, do you mean
Well,
when
one of.
you go upstairs and
Oh,
it's the
it
TV
confuses me
studio?
in there, but like you've got four
It's a
four
lot of
different
rooms.
you've got
Yeah, there's
four
like a
different
door on the left, a door.
spaces. So like it's even more confusing than the garage just
Yeah.
because you've got four different rooms. You've got the weeest one, which I think is Poetry Club, which I think is
Poetry
like
Club, yeah, it's tiny.
like a
I've seen,
hundred. Yeah, it's like a hundred
yeah,
cap.
I seen like Cult Dreams in there.
Yeah,
I think that was maybe one of the last gigs I went to before all this happened.
yeah. I didn't know that
Um,
was at Poetry Club.
yeah, it was the first time I'd ever been in there. I was meant to see Gender Rules in there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah,
Obviously, that got cancelled.
yeah.
But the room it is tiny.
I
Like
think it's similar
it's
to Attic, like
yeah.
size
Oh,
wise.
I would say it's smaller.
Yeah, from
Honestly,
pictures I've
it's just
seen.
it's a room. You know, that's it.
And then you've got the TV studio and warehouse, but I can never remember which one's the bigger one. I've seen
Mhm.
the men's singers in one of those rooms, but I can't remember which. I think
Yeah,
you know where
I
the
want.
bar, you know where the bar area is, the kind of space that's next to that is a
Oh,
venue
sure.
normally,
Hmm.
but I can't remember whether it's the TV studio or the warehouse. But I saw the men's singers in that part with where the bar is and that, and
I
that was pretty good.
I think the biggest one is
Galvanizers.
it's either the guy. Yeah, I'm sure it is the guy.
It's yeah, galvanizers. So it's like 2000 cap. It's kind of similar to barras, but it's completely different shape, completely different feel. But yeah, this is Ross's pick, so I'll go back to him. It's just explaining the different rooms.
I'm sure Ray can attest to
As
this
you
as
can
well, but
imagine.
SWG3 does have double pints as well, which does help.
Yeah,
It's definitely helps it stand out from other venues. You know.
as the resident non-drinker here, it probably contributes to half of my negativity about it. So
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a nightmare when you're trying to go anywhere
yeah,
and you can't because the queue around where the bar area has been put, that
uh,
kind of thing. Regardless of what version of SWG3 you're in,
yeah.
then you're still going to have that kind of problem of just having to get around people trying to get a double pint.
Yeah, I'm just glad they have the wee like water pourer thing at the side that I can just like nip
Yeah,
in,
that's
get
quite
that.
good.
But anything else, I think the drinks prices are not too great in there either. But well, for the pints they
I,
probably are, but for soft drinks they're not.
It's probably just due to the kind of you're paying for that's I suppose one of those instances you're paying for the convenience
Yeah,
because of where you are, that kind of thing. It's not as if there's a shop nearby,
yeah. The
and
convenience of spilling your 2 pint beer, which is
yeah,
common.
I suppose it's a kind of maybe insurance cost that everyone's kind of chipping in with there,
Yeah.
just in case. Because I wouldn't like to imagine what it's like cleaning up in there.
Oh God. But yeah, how many times have you been to SWGC, Ross?
I think 4 times because there was Overkill, there was Lords of the Lands with you, there was Powerwolf with you as well,
Yeah.
and I think the one that most impressed me was Halloween last year when Opeth were playing there, just because
Oh man, it's
with
brilliant.
their like softer and like heavier sounds, I think the venue actually carried it all like brilliantly.
Yeah. Didn't they have like a good light show and stuff for that as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I sent you a lot of the photos of like the review, and there was just like so much going on, but it was
Yeah.
just great to watch.
Yeah, like when
Yeah.
I saw We Were Promised jetpacks there, and they actually had like a kind of brought the disco ball down and like
Mhm.
shone the lights on it, so it was reflecting off the kind of all the walls and that, and it did look nice. But I mean, they only do that sometimes. Like it's good,
Mhm.
like obviously the galvanizers is usually designed because it's a big warehouse. It's like for kind of raves and stuff,
Yeah.
and they can do it if they want to, but I've just not really seen it much myself.
I think probably
Yeah.
the best show I've seen at SWG3 was in the Galvanizers as well. Fun enough, again, Devin
Yeah,
Townsend, like as you can
like yeah,
imagine,
Mhm.
he's like this crazy genius.
just with
So it
everything going
was,
on.
it's like he just disbanded the Devin Townsend project, which is probably his most well-known band he's been in.
Yeah,
He's had like umpteen bands, but he dissolved them and then started doing his own just Devin Townsend solo thing.
yeah,
Kind of like kind of want to say celebration of his music, but also kind of exploration into new ideas, that kind of thing,
yeah, yeah,
which is impressive in both rights. But his show, like in the Galvanizers, was crazy.
yeah. I
Oh,
Like
imagine.
You make me sad for Bloodstock now.
Yeah, I know. Now you've made me sad just bringing that up, but his show was just awesome. It was the most metal yet happy-go-lucky thing ever.
Yeah. Like
Like
imagine.
somewhere between pure evil riffs, but also like Hawaiian t-shirts and the
Oh
Hawaiian
yeah,
shirt scene.
I heard all about it. It's just, and I think that's what's kind of so for me. I know this is Ross's thing, but for me, like SWG3 kind of hit or miss because the kind of warehouse like bricks, the brick feel of it works for some gigs, but not
Mhm.
others. Like
Aye.
when I was at While She Sleeps, it just didn't feel like the same because I've seen them in
Oh,
like pretty much every other venue in town, and it just felt off. But yeah,
now I don't remember who it was, but I remember when I was going to go see Shellac.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure in the TV studio in SWG3,
yeah,
there was another band playing in the Galvanizers or the Warehouse, one of the bigger ones anyway. And I don't
yeah.
remember who it was. Might have been, I don't know, like
Oh, that was the same
some
night. Oh, who was
someone
it
to the
again?
line of like, do you know who I'm talking about? It's not
Ready
Big Mate,
Tomorrow.
somebody like that. Do you
I
know what I
think
mean?
it might. Was it at the end of last year?
Yeah, no, was it December? I think it was.
Yeah, Ready Tomorrow. I think we're playing because I was looking at gigs and stuff, and I was tempted to go to
And I,
that
s-
one.
and I said
Employed
to
to
you, like,
Serve were supporting. I'm sure.
no way, no way. They couldn't have been. In fact, Employed to Serve, weren't they? Did they not just play the Catty around about that same time, or?
No, that was like a few months ago. It
Yeah.
was one of the. It was the last
Oh,
second
right.
last gig I seen before lockdown, so it'd have been like March.
Right. Okay, so they
I'm
just
sure
came
they
back.
did.
They just came back round after supporting.
Yeah.
Uh, that makes sense. But I remember, like, I was outside, I think, queuing up for
Hmm.
Shellac, and obviously there's lots of people with like, bright pink hair and like like metal hoodies,
Yeah, I'm pretty
things
sure
like that.
it had to be.
I don't
It
want to
had to be
say,
them.
I don't want to say,
Or Motionless in White. It was one of the two. I know that they
you know,
both had gigs about that time, so
I'm now that you say it, I am 90% sure it was Motionless. It's got to be.
probably.
Yeah.
I'd less said about that band now, the better.
So that being said, you can imagine the kind of people that were, queuing up to see them. I was like, wow, it's like Shellac have lots of real fans around here, and like I was just like, who else is playing?
Yeah.
Like are they here to see Shellac? And like if anyone's listening, they're familiar with Shellac, then you'll know why that's such a confusing image to think of.
Yeah.
But it was definitely one of the funnier things from that night.
Yeah. So,
Basically, most Shellac fans that look like Steve Albini.
yeah, less pink hair, basically.
Pretty much, aye. Just
Um,
lots of more glasses than functioning eyes in the room.
yeah.
Anyway,
If Ross is finished with
Yeah,
this
that's my number
one,
10.
yeah,
Solid entry, I'd say.
yeah. Number
cool.
10 for Ray then.
Sweet. I believe mine's is St. Luke's,
Right.
and if you want to give its full correct name, St. Luke's and the Winged Docks.
But the Wing Docks is the restaurant, so
Yeah, but this is just usually what it's
yeah,
down as on gig
yeah.
lists. So just in case anyone's not sure
Yeah.
what St. Luke's I'm talking about the one with the wing docks on it. It's a beautiful venue. Like I love it. I've only been there 2, 3 times,
Hmm.
but like great place, great atmosphere. I don't think you could ever really put on a bad gig in there. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, it's got this nice classy vibe about it, which isn't really like most venues in town have this pure awesome, like, down to earth grungy vibe.
Yeah.
Well, at least the ones I'm going to anyway. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what you mean. Like,
St. Luke's is quite nice. I've only seen the two bands I can think of that I've seen there was Nirvana Unplugged, this like
mhm.
tribute act kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone's listening, you ever see them like playing, they're amazing. Like, it's not like a pure phoned-in pastiche of the Nirvana Unplugged show. It's just a bunch of musicians who love the Nirvana Unplugged album doing their own thing. Just bring this music to life for those who couldn't have actually been around to see it back then. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Do you know what I mean? It's not cheesy at all. It's just how it should be done. So as you can imagine, for that kind of thing, like man, they had it all decorated, properly, like in that show, with like the
Yeah.
flowers and candles and like someone playing cello, that kind of thing. And it was great. And it was seated as well.
Yeah.
I
It
was
just
standing
it
up
seems
because
like it would work really well for the Unplugged because obviously in the original Unplugged it was kind of like you say, kind of all candles and stuff. Like,
yeah, totally. They had the mood just right. It was awesome.
yeah.
And yeah, like I say, it was seating. Unfortunately, I wasn't seating because, I was an idiot and turned up at a time when all the seats were gone. Do you know what I mean?
Uh,
But gave me a kind of good chance to explore the venue. There's
yeah,
lots of great places you can get a good view, as you can imagine, because it's a big renovated church. You can actually go up to like
yeah.
the upper balconies and stuff, and those are seated too. Kind of thing.
I've
Or you
never
can even
been up
just
there.
it's great. Kind of thing. I
Yeah,
stood up there for the guy that was supporting the van unplugged, and it was just like it was really cool. It's really cool to just get to wander about and experience this kind of music just from different angles and stuff. You can be high up, or you can be low down. Um, yeah, love
yeah.
it.
So, spoiler, but I'm going to be talking about Say Looks later, so I'm going to kind
Oh
of,
yeah, should also add as well, and kind of on a kind of related note, but also on a kind of contrast there, I also seen Mudhoney.
yeah,
So you have no idea how surreal but awesome it is to see a bunch of 40 somethings who are like maybe what our age during the 90s
yeah,
grunge era and that kind of thing. You have no idea how awesome it is to see a bunch of 40 something year olds like, literally motion to Touch Me I'm Sick.
yeah. In a
It's like
church.
in a church, it was
Yeah,
one of the coolest things I've ever seen,
yeah.
you know?
It's like every day that I've heard, like, saying that they've been to a gig in St. Luke's, doesn't matter what type of music it is, I've never heard a bad word about it. Like,
Yeah. And I think
so, yeah,
it's quite a recent venue as well, isn't it? So like they definitely got things off to a good start there.
yeah, I'm going to be talking about it later, so I'll just
Sweet.
move on to my number 9, which, again, related to my number 10. It's not like the best venue, but for me, I like it because nostalgia mostly, but just the bands that I've seen here and the vibe that I get, and for obviously other reasons, it's the Cat House. Um,
All right, yeah.
yeah, like obviously the Cat House is predominantly a nightclub, so that kind of has
Mhm.
an influence on what you think of it because you can't really separate the gigs and the nightclub a lot of the time. A lot of
Yeah.
my kind of memories of Cat House just blend into one.
See,
Uh,
the only reason I kind of like laughed a bit when you said Cat House is, don't get me wrong, I love the Cat House, but
yeah,
I totally get
oh,
why you
for,
say nostalgia because I
yeah,
remember my first couple of gigs from the Cat House,
yeah.
and obviously when you're going there when you're under 18, like back then it was a totally different thing.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, the Cat House, up until recently, they kind of stopped doing a lot of kind of rock and metal, actually just shows in general. So it's only really been
Yeah.
recently that they've started doing them again. So that's how the Cat House
Mhm.
is way further down, or for a start, it's one of the reasons why it's further down, because the other reasons are that the columns are some of the worst in Glasgow, as in the two at the front.
Oh yeah.
The Glasgow column, probably Cat House has the worst in town, other than maybe some other couple of other
They are
venues. But
quite obstructive, aren't they?
yeah,
From what I
Yeah.
remember. Anyway, I remember, I think it was, I know this is again your thing, I don't mean to
and
hijack,
that's alright.
solely because it's not on my list. I
Yeah,
remember going to go see Altered Sky there
yeah,
way
yeah,
back
yeah.
when, like 2011. Um, and I don't know, I remember the layout being a wee bit different. Maybe the reposition where the stage was, I don't know, but I remember even then the pillar being a really big problem as well, kind of thing.
It's because it
Like,
sits like just in front of the stage.
yeah,
Like normally they're kind of further back, so you can kind of avoid them. But if you're anywhere near that part, you just don't see anything. I seen the Cadillac 3 there, and I'm pretty sure that was a pure rammed gig, and I was stuck behind the pillar and I couldn't see
God.
a thing, like, and it was rammed. So yeah, just didn't see the band at all. I could hear them. But that was
Mm.
it. Other,
There's been many a gig I went to that's been,
yeah,
obstructed by a pillar for
yeah.
a,
Uh,
a good
Cadillac
bit, a good bit of it, so I can
Cadillac
totally,
3 aren't the most energetic of bands or have the most energetic of audiences.
yeah.
So
So it's that kind of way
yeah,
if you're stuck behind the pillar, do you know what I
that's
mean?
you.
You're not even going to get a catch of like the guitarist back if he's moving
No,
about that much,
you maybe see like the left hand side of somebody just if they move just like slightly left the column, but
You have to do that thing where you kind of lean to one side, like kind of balancing on one foot a wee bit,
yeah,
kind of doing that upwards head tilt thing.
yeah, and then you just hurt afterwards.
Oh
But yeah,
god.
like the kind of nostalgia period for me was probably like when I was first getting into gigs again, similar to the garage. Kind of what year would that be? 2013, 2014. I was seeing bands like Heaven's Basement, Upon a
Oh,
Burning Body, The Defiled. That was a really good gig. There was The
oh god.
Defiled and Avatar
I can
playing the
imagine, man.
same
Holy shit.
gig.
Hmm.
Reckless Love, which judge me, whatever. Blackstone Cherry played a gig there for the Catty's 26th birthday. That was like what 4 years ago, something like that, and that was like probably the best time I've seen Blackstone Cherry. It was unreal. Like at that time,
Imagine.
they'd just played the Hydro like a year before or a few weeks before. I don't know. So yeah, seeing them in there was mental.
And I can
Pup,
imagine.
obviously, that was crazy as well. That was quite recently.
Was that the show with Milk Teeth supporting?
Yeah, it was.
Oh man, I remember thinking about going to that as well. Just
I
uh,
just got a ticket for that, so I
yeah,
was quite happy about that. But it was
yeah.
again, it was rammed, and I
I,
got
I,
there
wa-
late. So
I wanted to go just as you can imagine, just for Milk Teeth.
yeah,
But I'm kind of glad that I didn't, just based on the review you done, like just
yeah,
about the sound issues and stuff.
yeah. Milk
Like,
Teeth didn't get a great reception, weirdly enough, but
well, you'd
it's still a
think,
good gig. Like I'm still glad I went, and
uh,
uh, yeah, I missed them at Garage, so Cat House
you
was
you would think that there would at least be some crossover between Pup and Milk Teeth fans, but it's weird that there's not really.
yeah,
At least here anyway. I don't know about the rest of the UK.
yeah, it's weird, but yeah, like Cat House is mostly nostalgia for me. Like the sound's never that great, or like it can be okay, but it's but like see when you go, it just when I just think about the Cat House, I just get sad. So that's mostly
Yeah,
why it's on my list at all. But I miss the catty.
I think we all
So
do. To be fair.
yeah. So on to number 9 with Ross's one.
Well, this is a nostalgic one for me as well. I don't think I've actually been there that many times, but it's I guess you could just call it the SECC because it's like a bunch of different bits you can go in.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
a
the,
whole campus now.
yeah, the
Yeah,
SEC.
is it the Armadillo and that?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Because I had my first ever gig there like 10 years ago, which was Kiss, which is weird to think. And then a couple of
That's a
years after that
decent.
was Tenacious D as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I think you were at that, right, weren't you?
Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
It was my
That
first
was a
gig as
great gig.
well.
Aye, no way.
Nickelback.
Oh,
SEC. Oh no, not Tenacious D. I was
oh,
never.
oh
I think I
man, 'cause
wanted to go to that, but I didn't
yeah,
for some reason.
that would have been so weird if we'd been pals for this long and we'd only just found out we were at that same gig.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I've not seen them. Not seen them, but I've heard it
Ah,
was really good.
they were amazing. I
Uh,
still have like streamers from that gig as well. Like with Jack and Kyle's faces on them and stuff.
Talking about nostalgia right there.
Oh, I can't know. This is like 2012 or something. My God.
Yeah. See, that was just before us. Like, no, yeah, just before I started going to gigs like properly, as in standing for gigs. So I missed out, but I did want
Yeah.
to go.
Oh,
But
this was
anyway,
still at the point where I hated standing at the gigs. Just
oh,
wanted
yeah, I
to,
remember
wanted
that,
to
yeah.
sit down the whole time.
wait, what?
Ah,
Sorry, what?
well, this is the total opposite of now. But
Yeah.
back then, well, I think Tenacious D was when I was getting back into going to gigs. You know,
Okay. That was before I was going to gigs properly. It's just that's a weird thought.
mm.
Uh,
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I, I,
but
th I think it is less of like they don't really do gigs in there now. It's mostly just used for like Comic Con and that. But I did get to see a couple of years ago was the Evanescence tour they did with like the orchestra in it and like the sort of seated
yeah,
part of the venue. So that sounded amazing. But that's the
Nice.
only real like recent experience I've had with it.
yeah. I'm trying to think, but I've really not been to SSE much either because, like you say, once since the Hydro's been built, they haven't really been putting
Hmm.
on shows there. I've seen Nickelback in 2009. I've seen Slash,
Nice.
Deftones.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
That was a strange pick of a venue, but like not complaining, it was a good gig.
Yeah. I don't think
Who
I
else?
think
Quite
this is probably the
recently.
first I'm hearing of Deftones playing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Um, it was really good.
Oh, I can imagine.
Who else did I see? Ah, I cannot remember, but like, yeah, they really don't have that many gigs, and I can see why. Like,
I
it's
imagine it's more effort to set up for a
yeah,
gig in there now than it is for the Hydro, which is kind of built for that right next
yeah.
door.
You can tell that the SEC is just like it's just a big room, basically. Like they've just got curtains at the sides, and they have like wee food kind of carts and that, but it's really just
Aye,
for exhibitions now,
very
and it's
much.
yeah. But now, like it
Yeah.
seems like they're putting on kind of gigs at the SEC when they don't have like see when the Hydro's been used, they seem to put on gigs at the SEC because they've got like different rooms they can use as well. Apparently, I think I've only ever been in the biggest room in there.
Yeah, I think all the rooms are fairly similar,
Yeah, just squares, big squares.
pretty much. I think when we seen Tenacious D, it was in, I want to say the middle room, kind of
Yeah.
thing. I don't know how many rooms there are. Let's just say
Yeah.
the middle-sized room, one of them.
I think Deftones must have been one of the smaller ones as well, now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Nickelback was in the biggest one. I remember that. Because it had seats. Like,
Hmm.
it's the only time I've been to SCC and there's been seats. Every other time it's just been, like, all standing, which is
Yeah.
weird.
Sounds about right.
But yeah.
That's my number 9.
So,
Okay, it's my number 9.
yep.
Conveniently enough, just because we have just not long ago discussed this, mine's is the garage attic.
Yes.
So I've kind of went for perhaps a controversial choice of the smallest room in the garage as opposed to just your kind of amalgamated choice of all three,
Yeah.
which makes sense to me.
Yeah. I know,
I
it totally makes sense to
yeah,
me, like, coming from you as well.
yeah, I feel like you covered the main room in the G2 well enough,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense for me to just kind of elaborate more on the attic. Um, Again, the makings of any good venue for me is always a good, like, pure dirty, grungy vibe. You
Yeah.
know, like that place is like you imagine, like, I don't know, CBGBs in like the 70s or something. You know, like rough
Yeah.
brick walls, rock posters peeling off, that kind
Jack
of thing.
Daniels on
Jack
the,
Daniels
yeah.
imagery everywhere. Totally,
Yeah.
that's probably what I'm thinking of actually. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I love it. It's mainly to do with the amount of great bands I've seen in there over the years as well.
Yeah.
Like all, funnily enough, all kind of fitting into that kind of grunge kind of pigeonhole. So,
Yeah.
so obviously, and I think we've been to all these ones, me and you. So like Puppy,
Yep.
Fan Club,
Yep.
which was
Twice.
just yeah. In fact, oh yeah, we did see Fan Club twice. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I kind of merged those into like the one kind of gig.
Yeah. Because they were so
Point.
close together.
Yeah, they were. I think they were only like I don't think they were even like a year apart, were they?
Nah,
Like
it was like
because we
6 months
seen
or 9 months
yeah,
or something.
because we seen them first time. I'm sure in like man, it's like September
Oh, like
or
5 million years ago, it feels like.
yeah, man, like of all the bands, like I just of all the ones that do kind of make me miss gigs the most, it's definitely Fan Club.
Yeah.
Just because those have been the few times I've seen them have been some of my favourite gigs. They're
Yeah.
amazing. Like um.
Who else have you seen there?
Low Lives as well. I was going to mention
Oh
them
yeah,
next. That was
forgot
actually the
about that.
first. I think that was actually one of the first ones I seen.
Yeah.
And like I've been to kind of underground gigs and stuff,
Yeah.
but I think Low Lives was one of the first kind of proper touring bands to come through there that I'd seen. I think you mentioned them. Like first, you're saying, "Oh, like this is the guy from the Vitals' new band." It's like they've got like a 2-track single out just now. Tickets
And
like £8.
they're a grunge
Like
band.
yeah, they're a grunge band,
Yeah.
isn't it? So I've just bought my ticket. When is it?
Yeah.
you know, but then
Yeah.
like they were great as well. I remember they done that cover of Wood by Alice in Chains
Oh, that
as
was so
well,
good.
right after slagging off Guns N' Roses, which only just made up for it.
Yeah.
Like you can't slag off Guns and then just leave it at that.
Yeah, because we just looked at each other. They were starting slagging off Guns N' Roses. We just like sighed at each other, but then we just heard Wood and we're like, ah, that's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's all just like like what did they just
Whatever.
say? I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember.
didn't
You know.
hear that. It was fine.
But yeah, it's great, and one of my favourite things about the venue as well is the fact that it's so easy to actually just get to go up and talk to the band afterwards, that kind of
Yeah, because
thing.
there's not really like a kind of dressing room or anything. It's kind of just a slight area,
Yeah,
but beside the stage.
it's like, they play on stage and then they just go into that wee curtained off area, which is
Yeah,
also the merch desk kind of
yeah.
thing. So they'll be right there. And when I remember getting to talk to, I think we talked to Fan Club both times that we seen them.
Yeah, and you were talking
Like,
to Stitch from Lowlifes as well.
were we?
Remember that? Or you were.
Oh no! Oh yeah! I think I said a couple of things to Stitch, but I remember talking to their drummer as
Yeah.
well. Oh, a
Oh
bunch of
yeah, he
like
was cool.
yeah, really sing guys. Again, that's the kind of thing. It's great to just get to be able to talk to bands, just not even fanboying about them, but just get to talk to them like the
Yeah.
other people because they are other people. They're musicians, that kind of thing. So it's great getting to talk to Fan Club about things like guitar pedals
Yeah, because
and
that's
stuff.
like the thing about the attic is like you know how like all the other really small kind of venues they don't really
Mhm.
get that many like slightly bigger bands. Like the attic seems to be the one venue that kind of slightly bigger bands play in the smallest
Yeah.
room.
See,
Whereas if you're going to some of the other venues like 13th Note or whatever, it's kind of really local bands most of the time and
Yeah,
underground bands.
I suppose Attic is kind of one of those opportunities that a band has to kind of go up to the next step, as it were.
Yeah,
So it's definitely, grunge gigs aside, it's definitely got a really important place in town, in my
yeah,
opinion, because it's bands going from playing like the Note to the Attic, and then they could be playing Tuts or something or
yeah,
Stereo, and then they'll end up well, they would have been playing the O2 on Circuit Hall Street.
yeah.
Like if
R.I.P.
that was, yeah, RIP, or if that was obviously still there, and I get a feeling that's probably going to come up later, so I'll
Yeah,
probably just cut it off there. But
yeah.
yeah,
Like
you get where I'm going.
just to kind of cut into what you were saying about like it's good for bands that aren't grunge bands as well. Like me and Ross went to see Conjurer there, and
Oh yeah,
that
like
was an unreal gig. Like
mhm.
Yeah.
Like I say, the first few gigs I went to there were local metal bands and stuff, so
yeah,
it's definitely, even though it's got that grunge aesthetic, it's definitely quite a universally useful venue,
yeah.
whatever
It's
band you're in,
like I just can't wait for like gigs to start again, and like hopefully the Attic will just keep getting really good bands to play because they've got really good bookers that book the
Yeah,
bands there.
absolutely. Like whoever's booking for there does a really good job. So,
Yeah,
if they're listening, that's off to you.
yeah. My number eight is perhaps controversially, but I think it's going to come up later anyway. Classic Grand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I like kind of thought a bit about this one as well because I've only been to two gigs here, King 810 and Knocked Loose, but
What a
I know.
choice.
But like, yeah, I mean, if like Ross can back me up here to say that
Yeah.
like Knocked Loose was amazing. It's just
Oh, I can imagine
it's
that definitely being the better of the two.
yeah, King like don't get me wrong, right? King 810 back then I really liked them, and
That's
the
fair enough.
Classic Grand
Yeah,
was a good venue for them to play. It's kind of wide, like it's like the bar is, like it's wider than it is long, and it's just like a big, kind of open bit in the middle with some steps in that. But it feels it's that kind of like tacky old theatre kind of feel, but it kind of works
yeah. I
strangely
mean,
for
for,
gigs,
for
not for
gigs.
clubs. But we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That's
It's got a kind of run down feel, but for certain bands, it just works like Knocked Loose. It just had you had such a big like floor space just to for people to go mental in, and the sound like this getting to like kind of high ceiling, and it worked
I think
so well.
I think it's one of those ones where the sound can really be affected by where you're standing in there. I
Yeah.
suppose if any sound engineers listening, that probably goes without saying. But aesthetically, all that definitely works. I remember going to see Death Heaven there,
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
you can imagine, this pure, mad, huge, anthemic black gaze, like
yeah,
in this pure, cracking, fading, like ballroom,
yeah,
like that looked awesome, kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, I was an idiot. I turned up late because I was working that night, so I
yeah,
turned up just as I think they had started, that kind of thing. So it was really packed. Standing at the top of the stairs at the
yeah,
door
yeah,
just as you're walking in, and that was as far as I could get.
yeah.
And it was like I could see the band and hear all the treble
Yeah.
of
But
everything,
nothing else.
but nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I can imagine that like because of the shape of it, you've got the kind of balcony bit at the side and the kind
You've
of
got
it
you've got
just
the kind
kind
of
of
wind, just the stairs that kind of wind down into the kind
yeah,
of deeper like part where the floor is, that kind of thing. So I have this kind of weird image of it
yeah,
in my head, that kind of
yeah.
thing. But
Like
yeah, you totally get what I mean. Aye.
yeah, like I've only ever been kind of in the middle of the room, so I'm probably getting like the optimal sound from it. But like they just Classic Grand just needs to put on more gigs so that they can prove that they actually can be a good venue because people have
Yeah.
this idea that Classic Grand's just obsolete now, which it kind of is.
See, the thing is,
Um,
like, I remember going to, again, I've been to kind of like underground metal bands in there, that kind of
yeah,
thing. The
back in the
sound's been,
day,
yeah, way back in the day. Like,
yeah,
I'm talking like between like 2010, 2013,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Conveniently, the last time I was there, actually the first and last time I was there for the nightclubs was probably in 2015,
Hmm.
and that was like one of the last times until going to gigs. But
Yeah.
yeah, just put more gigs on.
Yeah, because they do have the smaller room and then the sound is a lot better from what I
Yeah, I've not.
remember than in the big room. But I guess it's because it's got less to travel.
Yeah, I think Classic Grand's coming up later, if I'm not correct. So
Mhm.
let's just go on to Ross's number eight.
Yeah, this would be this will be a short one because I've actually only been there once, but it's the Drygate Brewery. I think that was
Yeah,
one of the last gigs I think we went to. I can't remember when it was, but it was
yeah.
Soar. I don't still know how to say their
Swar,
name.
Swar.
But
Pirate
again,
metal band.
but
Swar.
it was just such a good gig that I've just remembered that place, even just down to just. I know you don't care about booze, but the fact you can get like smoked stout and stuff like that there just makes me happy.
Oh yeah, I can appreciate that. Like it's all craft beer and like obviously it's a brewery, so of course. Yeah. Have I been? I think I've only been the once as well, so I can't really add much to that. It feels like a brewery.
See, the funny thing with this venue is it's actually, I know I'll be a total snob about it, but it's a rarity in the sense that it's one of the few venues I've actually never been to.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's like for once nothing I can really add on to this. So
yeah.
this is all
It,
new to me.
yeah, it's one of the. I would say it's probably one of the venues in Glasgow that's most recently been used for gigs. Like
Mhm.
probably in the last year. Like I don't remember there being gigs really before that. I'm probably being ignorant, but like
No, I think it has been quite a recent development.
yeah, but
Yeah, it
like
does. It does have like an industrial feel to it, but I think the sound actually works well because I think Winterfell might have been like the best sounding band that day, and everything just sounded so clear and
yeah,
as it should have been.
I know like when I reviewed it, I thought the sound was a bit patchy, but like I'm super picky with sound, like at gigs. Um, like once they got it right, I think it was just kind of getting used to the sound in there. But once they got it right, it was really good. It's just they took a while to get it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think once they get kind of used to the way that room's laid out, I think it could be a really good venue.
yeah, it wasn't too crowded either, which is always a good part, unless you're
Yeah,
a part of the pit, which I was. But aside from that, it was pretty
yeah.
spacious.
It's like yeah, it's quite a wide room. Like got a lot of kind of room to move about, and like the merch and that's in the other room from what I can remember. So you or no, it's at the kind of start of that room, so you've got loads of space.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that room like plays out.
yeah, I'd
Uh,
hope to get another gig there at some point.
yeah,
Who knows?
when gigs are a thing again.
In
Mhm.
2022.
Yeah,
Oh, I would say that.
84 years. Um, so
But yeah, that's my number 8.
uh, so Ray's number 8.
Sweet. Number 8 would be Stereo. Um, can't even remember the street it's on now. It's been that long.
Re-
But
um,
anyone who's
Renfield,
been
no,
there, like the real ones know where Stereo is. It's a bit hidden away, but the real
Renfield
ones know.
Street,
It's
no,
it's that wee alleyway just up for Central.
Renfield
Um,
Lane, I think it is. It's
Enfield
like,
Lane.
yeah,
Sure it is.
I think.
Because the only reason I make such a thing about where it is because I remember I don't even remember the first gig I went to at Stereo because I've been to that many local ones.
Yeah.
But first time I tried to find it, I remember having a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of local scene's best kept secrets, I would say. Other than being a venue, like excellent bar and restaurant, great food, great
If you,
drinks, great
especially if
aesthetics.
you're vegetarian, I think it's vegetarian in there. Same
Yeah.
as same as the one across the road.
See, I remember kind of having this discussion um, with the band Big Spring, if
Yeah.
you've ever heard of them. I was having this discussion when I seen them in a venue that I should talk about later on, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But we were kind of talking about this when I was chatting away to them after I'd seen them play, and we kind of happened upon this idea that some of the best venues, like in town or most places you go to, seem to be vegan places. I don't
Yeah.
really know what the correlation is, but when you do get that pointed out to you, you're like, oh, right, okay, there must be
Yeah.
something there. I don't know, like,
It's
it's,
probably this. It'll be like the ethical kind of thing and the kind of
yeah, totally.
DIY, usually the DIY aesthetic to it and
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's pretty much what I was going to go on to next,
Yeah.
is I just love stereo, just, for its DIY aesthetic as well. It's,
Yeah.
again, similar to the garage in the sense that it's kind of got that classic lived in, well used feel.
Yeah.
Like there's posters kind of like the blue tack is just like coming away off the wall. There's like paint missing.
Yeah.
Like there's like
It's a way
so
like downstairs. It's like as if you're going to like
yeah.
a basement.
It's a
Like
it's a basement venue, and like
yeah.
me, I love basement venues.
Yeah.
Like I've spent probably a good bit of my life in Glasgow's basements, well,
Going up,
basement venues
how many
anyway.
miles have you spent going up and down at a basement venue, like up and down the stairs?
Probably more. I've probably gotten more exercise from venue stairs than anywhere else in my life,
Yeah,
And I've worked in, tower box and stuff, so it's
yeah,
a good one. But in the same way, like Garage Attic,
yeah.
it's it's quite universal. You could be like a wee indie band, you could be like a dream pop band, you could be like satanic doo wop, like Twin
Yeah.
Templar, and it still works.
Yeah, like I've not been there that often, but I've seen like quite different bands. I've seen the Wonder
Yeah.
Years in there. I've seen obviously Twin Temple. What
Was
else
that
have I
where?
seen?
Was that no also where the last night in Glasgow birthday party was?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
if I've
Uh,
got, hopefully I've gotten their name right. If
Last
you're
night from
listening, I'm sorry.
Glasgow. Last night from
Yeah,
Glasgow. If you're into like indie music, and like obviously like strong like ethical kind of part of your music, then they're a record label that's based in Glasgow and they do really
yeah.
good stuff. If you want to check them out.
Lots of
Um,
good bands on that night, if I remember. Plus, as well,
yeah,
it's they're great for local bands.
yeah,
I remember one of my favourite gigs I've been to there. Um, I don't remember the exact full lineup, but it was bands such as Herbert Powell, Sean Armstrong Trio, or maybe they were playing as the Sean Armstrong Quartet that night. I can't remember. And this other band, First Templar Atom, who I don't really think they've done much since then, like
yeah.
since because this was like 2018, and these guys were like proper symphonic black metal, but
Ah,
there was
nice.
only like 3 or 4 of them on stage, but they're backing tracks. It was really well put together for
Yeah,
like a small local band, that kind of thing. Like they proper had their stuff all figured out.
yeah. It's kind of
Um,
similar to honestly, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Fuath. It's basically SAR's like side project.
yeah, it's that
Yeah,
yeah, that kind of idea, totally. Like
atmospheric black metal. It really worked on there. Surprised, like I was
yeah,
surprised by how well it worked.
absolutely
They had
awesome.
like the kind of podium and stuff. It was cool, and obviously Twin Temple had a good setup for theirs as well. So stereo was quite accommodating for bands that have got kind of theatrical
Yeah,
stuff.
totally. Obviously, they've also got the same kind of problem as the cat, where you have to get
Yeah,
there early enough, get a good spot, otherwise you will be obstructed by the pillar
the
of doom.
the Glasgow columns.
Yeah,
That was
pretty
the
much.
stereo, and some of the other ones that will probably come up later are the ones that I have in mind for the Glasgow column.
Yeah, it is interesting though because I remember going to go see Pinat, this kind of Scottish grunge band who are
Yeah,
awesome by the way. I missed them a lot, but that was one of the last. I think that was the very last gig they played there actually.
yeah,
Uh, And it was really interesting because I think that was kind of one of the instances where the pillar on stage, which is a bit
yeah.
of a rarity in
Oh yeah,
Glasgow
yeah, yeah,
venues, but the pillar
yeah.
being on stage, like that wasn't a problem for them because there was only 3 of them. But sometimes that can obstruct some of the bands, so that gives them the kind of
Oh yeah, yeah,
interesting visual challenge of them kind of well visually and physically trying to position themselves around this pillar on
yeah.
stage, that kind of thing. If
The
they're like
only
a 5 piece, they're in trouble.
Yeah, the only other venue I can think of that has that is G2.
Oh
And
yeah,
like I can remember like quite vividly, like when Miss May I played, like he was kind of like put his arm like round the column, but it looked cool because obviously he's a metalcore vocalist, so he was just
yeah.
like
So it kind of
you know
works.
bent over it and stuff. But yeah,
Not really much more I can say. I love it.
yeah,
Great, great place. And sometimes, if you're lucky, another one of these great venues where you've got the opportunity to kind of hang around for a couple minutes before security chuck you out, and you get to talk to the band,
yeah,
tell them what a good show they put on. I always encourage that from people when they see bands coming through. Just go up and talk to your favourite musicians. They're not as scary as they look on stage.
well,
It's great.
most of them anyway.
Most of them are. It's a bit like,
Yeah,
but really, you'll be surprised just, what big softies a lot of them can
yeah,
be. Just quite down to earth people.
yeah. And if Twin Temple are playing at stereo again, which I doubt, don't get merch afterwards. Mistake made.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
another one of these venues, kind of like the QMU, the merch is in a really tricky place, but I suppose it's
it's
just then doing
a
what they
lot
can
of
do.
venues. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on to my number seven. Again, surprising choice probably, but the O2 Academy. Once again, nostalgia, and I've seen quite a few like really good shows here, even though the sound once again lets it down. Uh, yeah, I've seen too many actually to name, but like highlights have been Sum 41, Dropkick Murphys,
nice.
Architects, Trivium, Weezer, and Bullet for My Valentine when they didn't suck. Um,
It was a while ago.
When was that?
2000 I've seen them a couple of times on there actually. 2013 was my first proper standing gig, which I still have a lot of like heart eyes emojis over.
That's fair
First
enough.
first mosh pit, first standing gig, first mosh pit. It was really good. They were one of my favourite bands back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like for mid-tier bands, it's probably not the best venue, but yeah, I've seen so many good bands here that I can't. It's hard to like quantify it with. Oh, the sound sucks sometimes. Like the sound's never amazing. Like let's get that like straight up. But the vibe is really good when it's a really good band playing. They've got a good stage show. The audience is up for it, and there's a good mosh pit. Like it's for metal bands, it's not like it's pretty good. Like even though it kind of sucks, it's still pretty good.
That is the kind of thing I've noticed with it as well, that metal bands, all these kind of more heavy guitar-driven bands seem to do really well in there,
Yeah,
sound-wise as well. And
yeah,
also just whoever, I don't know, it books for in there does a really good job of getting these guys to actually stop by, you know?
yeah. I
Um,
mean, like it's an O2 venue, so it's part of the corporate like chain of the like O2 venues.
yeah,
And as we'll go into later, there was a superior O2 venue in Glasgow. Um, but yeah,
the O2 Academy this year actually had a lot of good gigs
yeah,
lined up. I'm actually quite disappointed that aren't going to happen,
yeah,
understandably, but there's ones like Faith No More, which I was
yeah.
dying to go to. So that's
Incubus as
sold out.
well.
Incubus as well. I was really wanting to go to that as well.
Yeah,
Just because I haven't seen Placebo in a while, I
yeah.
need that kind of fix.
And it's like the O2 Academy is like slightly bigger than the bar is. So if you've got
Yeah.
a band that's not quite big enough to play the Hydro, the O2 Academy is probably where they're going to play. And if you get a good band, it'll be a good gig most of the time. If it's sold
Yeah.
out, it's probably going to be a good gig unless the aircon's not working. But
I'm probably going to make you angry by bringing this up again,
yeah,
kind of thing. But yeah, like you're saying on the topic of nostalgia and stuff, that you remember the Jaeger tour when that was a thing.
oh yeah,
Obviously, yeah,
yeah.
like when that came
I
by,
wasn't there, but like yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
This is
like,
why it makes me angry.
aye,
Like
totally.
listeners,
So like
this just always gets brought up.
2013, Jaeger tours come through, and
Uh-huh.
I could be getting this line up entirely wrong, but it was Gojira,
You probably
Ghost,
aren't.
and the Defiled,
Uh-huh.
all that for a fiver.
Uh-huh.
At least I'd only paid a fiver anyway. Yeah, and it
Uh-huh.
was just such a formational thing for me. I'm sorry, Joe, you couldn't have been there, but you have to know it
No,
was
no, no,
awesome.
no, no. The thing is, I could have been there. That's what's so bad about it. I could have been there, but for some reason I wasn't. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. For me, it was a total last minute thing. I think it was my mate Kieran that had just brought it up one day after, just as I was finishing college. He's like,
yeah,
"Are you going to the Giga tour tonight?" He's like, "No." He's like, "That. Do you want a ticket?" I was like, "That." Aye.
uh,
And like, I thought that was going to be the only time I would get to see Gojira. And I think that year alone, I'd seen him about 3 times.
yeah,
And it was the first and only time I'd seen the Defiled. And man, they had such a great live show.
yeah. R.I.P. the Defiled. Even though
I
the
know.
like low lives are really good, the Defiled were like
They were something special.
they could have been really big. Like R.I.P.
Yeah, yeah, very, very Nine Inch Nailsy,
Yeah,
like, and I love Nine Inch Nails, so that's a compliment from me.
goth, just total goths.
Very much, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, really gothic, but also really metal.
Yeah. But once again, O2 Academy, I'm pretty sure is coming up later. So we'll just
Cool,
go
cool, cool.
into number 7, Ross's pick.
Well, this one's probably going to be a bit controversial after
Uh,
that, but
you having a controversial opinion? Never.
no, mine's is the O2 ABC. But it's basically just because I've not really had that many gigs in there. Like, because I think I started my first proper gig in there was like February 2018,
Yeah.
and I think that wasn't long before like it obviously went on fire and that. But probably the best. It was probably the venue that got me into wanting to go more gigs because I think it was Arch Enemy, like February 2018, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just had like such an amazing time. It was just perfect, and it just made me want to keep going back.
Yeah, like trying to not say much about the O2 Academy because I'll be talking about it later.
I get the feeling it's number one on your list.
Probably close.
Like
You guys will probably have more to say on this. I'll just move on anyway.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's good.
Trying to think. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about the O2 ABC just now. Probably save
Yours,
that for later.
yeah, right. Okay, so we're moving on
To
swiftly.
number
You're
7.
number 7, yeah.
Number 7, might be a controversial choice for how I would say that this venue has got a really important part of Glasgow's local music scene. In
Yeah,
fact, it's probably got a really big foothold in the whole music industry here, just for the amount of bands that have played foundational, informational, important first gigs here,
is
stuff
it
like that. But
Tuts?
King Tut's, yeah,
Yes.
King Tut's Wawa Hut, and where'd I even start? I don't know.
I mean, it's
It's
hard. Like, you probably don't even need to really explain King Tut's to most
yeah,
people, even if you're not from Glasgow. It's King Tut's.
yeah. I mean, I think it says a lot where you walk into King Tut's, and a couple of things that you see in the wall is like fan mail from
Yeah,
people all around the world who have been, coming through Scotland, that kind of thing. They've came through Glasgow, they've stopped by,
yeah,
like even for a drink in King Tut's, so they've seen like a gig happen there, that
yeah.
kind of thing.
I've just
That
realised
that
that.
go, that goes
Sorry,
to say a lot about it. But
sorry. I just realised that my King Tut's is my number 6 pick, so I would have been talking about it like literally next. So if we'll just talk about it now.
aye, no, sure, of
Yeah,
course. Um, but yeah, man, where do you even start? I've seen way too many bands that I can even list there because see for the venues so far I have
yeah,
listed, I've put down 2 or 3 bands.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
whereas I've just seen, I
It's yeah,
don't
like
know,
King Tut's to you is like the O2 Academy for me, probably, and that like
it
it's hard to
was,
even quantify how many I've seen there.
yeah, there was a good period like over like summer 2018 where I felt like I was in there pretty much every week, you
Yeah,
know. It's
it's
really,
King
really,
Tut's.
it's King Tut's. It's, you
It's the
walk
place that founded like so many of like
so
just
many
huge
careers. You
bands.
you walk up those stairs and you see
Yeah,
all the bands that have passed through there. Like Suede, Placebo, Oasis.
yeah,
Probably those that are just the first ones off the top of my head because they're my favourites. But
yeah,
it's crazy how many big names have been there and went on to make it.
yeah,
And that's them playing their first couple of gigs way back when they're playing their first tours, that
yeah,
kind of thing. So it's one of those things that add to this feeling that you're a part of King Tut's history
yeah.
every time you see a band making their own history there.
Yeah, you
If
always feel like any band you see at King Tut's, you kind of think like, oh, this band could King Tut's could launch their career as well.
Yeah,
It just feels
absolutely.
that like monumental every time you go.
Totally, and they have all sorts of great things during the year. They have like the King Tut's, probably getting the name entirely wrong here, but like the Summer Nights, I think it's called, where
Uh,
it's like kind of it's like a kind of mini festival, but they get like bills of like 3, 4 to 5 bands playing over the course of like I think it's a month or 2,
yeah,
that kind of thing, and that's such a cool thing. I remember going to go see. I think that was the first time I'd seen Blackboard Cheryl there,
yeah.
and they
Shout
killed it.
out local band,
Shout out.
grunge band. Shout out, check them out.
Yeah, like they were awesome. They killed it, man, and that what a great first gig for them.
Yeah,
I could even imagine their name going in that top step eventually.
yeah,
One can dream.
yeah. King Tut's is such an intimate venue. Like it's actually like it's got like 300 capacity, right? But it feels almost as small as like the Attic or
Yeah,
you know like
it's one of the kind of rarities in town where it's like you're saying it's only a few hundred cap, but
yeah. It's I think that
you can
includes
get a
I
good
think that
spot.
includes the bar area. I think that's why it's 300 and not like 150
Yeah,
because if you're standing at the bar area, you can like watch the gig on a screen,
yeah. I was just thinking
which
that.
don't show up to a gig late at King Tut's ever because
Otherwise, you will be watching that screen.
Twin
Like,
Atlantic, like not that long ago for me, that was I was like peeking out at the wee kind of arch bit.
yeah.
It's not ideal.
I know,
Like
no, I've been there plenty of times before. I
yeah,
think last gig I was like at there, it's probably the Vex Red gig, and
oh yeah, yeah,
that was something special. I really enjoyed that. Like
yeah.
plenty of like drunk idiots for the support bands, you know.
Yeah,
But Sewer killed it. Like
yep.
they're awesome.
We saw Zealand there as well, which was
Ah, what an experience.
like that's probably the best gig I've seen at King Tut's. Like I've seen quite a lot there, but
So fierce, so fierce.
it's yeah, like, and also that's the other thing I was going to mention when I was talking about King Tut's. King Tut's is loud. Like,
Oof,
it's like
super loud.
I don't know what it is, right? But I think it's the loudest venue in Glasgow, and it's not even that big. Like compared to its size, it's just every time you go, your ears just get like the sound is just like ingrained into your brain. I don't know
I think
how.
do you know what it is? I think it's I know that a lot of the time they have the kind of touring sound guys there, but
Yeah,
the in-house sound guys they do a pretty good job.
yeah,
But I think it's largely due to the fact, from what I gather, they used to have a mostly analog system.
yeah. No shit.
They had a mostly analog system, and I think in recent months before this whole pandemic shut everything
Yeah,
fun down, I think they changed over to a digital system.
yeah,
And I think the first time I'd experienced that was at the Vex Red gig again, and you really could notice the difference there. Like, not saying it's
yeah,
bad, but it's kind of not got the same warmth from
yeah,
analog equipment as you can imagine. Not
yeah.
really sure of the choice there, but
I
yeah,
imagine there's a lot of venues that have done the same kind of changeover in recent years as well.
yeah,
Like,
it's just surprised me touch, because like
yeah,
I say, it's like it is a really important part of artists' careers. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool to hear that same equipment that's brought their careers to life, like in more recent times.
yeah.
But if they totally replace that, then it's not artificial, but to make things digital, I don't know if it's maybe a convenience thing or whatever,
Yeah,
but
I think we'll see once gigs are back in that, and
yeah, I
it,
could be totally
like
wrong.
it could just be like a one-off type thing. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, King Tut's like, what else can you really say about King Tut's? Like,
Yeah,
if
it's
you
one of
like, it's
the
always in
best.
like the kind of list of gig venues to go to in the world. So like, if you've never been, just go to a gig in King
Yeah,
Tut's. Like,
it's
you,
practically a tourist attraction at this point.
yeah, well, just like another venue that's going to get mentioned later.
Aye, so let's
So
crack on.
sidestepping onto Ross's number 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, everyone
Yeah,
said yeah.
is
Yeah, my number six is the Hydro. This is one. It seems to be a little controversial because I don't know. Some people seem to have issues with the sound in there, but I've never really had much issue. Like bands like Ghost and that have always sounded like amazing.
yeah.
I think the one that you brought up, Joe, was Hailstorm, and I think there was a few issues, but
Yeah,
I
I think
personally
that
enjoyed
was
it.
mostly down to the bands. Like sometimes it's not the venue that's the problem; it's the bands
Mm.
that aren't equipped to play in like such a huge venue. Which I think that was
Yeah,
in Hailstorm's
I
case.
can
I
see
think
why Hailstorm would have that problem.
I
see
don't
like
think so.
Hailstorm's sound was alright. It was the support bands. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you get that in like any big venue, and it's like smaller bands that are supporting. Sometimes the sound is like, "Ooh," but yeah,
I think it's
uh,
the seating seems to have some issues as well because I think I went to see Iron Maiden and obviously I love Maiden, but
yeah,
it's just sitting there you don't feel like the sort of impact that like the sort of standing would. But I think that's just due to like a sort of height difference probably.
yeah. I
I
mean,
suppose that goes without saying for all gig venues, really. Like seating
yeah.
just really isn't the same as standing.
Yeah,
Yeah, like we very rarely go to seating gigs, so we just don't experience that side of it. I think that's maybe where Hydro gets. It's like, oh, the sound sucks, but it's because you're sitting like right at the back or
Yeah,
whatever.
you're
Um,
sitting like a billion feet above ground level, so
yeah,
the sound it's never gonna travel up the way.
yeah. Again, spoiler, and even more controversially, I'll be talking about the Hydro later. But I'm just going to throw in here that like it's designed like more than the SEC. It's designed for music. Like the shape of it, it's like a bowl. It's
Yeah,
better designed than most arenas, like for music. Like if you go to most arenas in the UK or even in the world, they're like big rectangles and the sound isn't great. But like the Hydro, for me, is better than most arenas.
yeah, they definitely put obviously it goes without saying they put a lot of thought into how that's gonna work. So you can
Yeah,
definitely tell. So
but we will
yeah,
be talking about that later. So
sweet.
you're number 6.
Right, my number six. Number six on my list it would be the Flying Duck. I love that everyone's kind of, again, like Ross pointed out, more discussing the more well-known like mainstream venues.
Typical Ray being a hipster.
Yeah, I know. What can I say?
I know.
I love being difficult. I love being different.
Ah, you know.
Flying Duck, which is another excellent basement venue. Again, good, proper, ethical DIY vibes. Paintwork falling off the wall,
Again,
brickwork
like what's
showing.
just the like what's new about that kind of venue? Like
I suppose I suppose there's something about that whole aesthetic that just
Yeah.
makes me feel home. I don't know. It's awesome.
Like,
Like,
so with Flying Duck with me, I've never been to a gig there, so yeah, you'll need to just kind of say what's good about Flying Duck because I have no idea.
well, I suppose again, it's good. It's a good kind of. It's got a really important part of the local scene in particular. You know, the
Yeah.
local underground. You know, bands that aren't even on a record label in town. That kind of
Hmm.
scene. They do all kinds of great things there. You know, that's I think it also doubles as like not a nightclub, but they do club nights, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Things like
Only
that. Things
time,
like
yeah, only time I've
that.
been to Flying Duck was Hogmanay. It's a good
Yeah,
night.
you totally know what the aesthetic's like in there.
Yeah.
Just again, another good vegan place. Like there's the connection coming up there again,
Yeah.
kind of thing. The venue itself, it's basically, you know, it is equipped for what it is. This,
Where is the gigs when they have them in Flying Duck? Because I can only think of the bar area, and I don't think the gigs are in there.
so if you were to be walking down the stairs and you go through those doors and then you take a left, go through that hall, and if you were to go straight on, it takes you into the bar, kind of
Right,
restaurant area.
yeah, yeah.
If you were
It's the
to
other
go,
room.
yeah, if you were to
Yeah,
go left and then continue down that hallway, and
yeah.
then you
I
take a
think I know
right,
where you are.
yeah, you have to go
It's
up two wee steps.
yeah. When
Um,
we were in Hogmanay, they had like a drag karaoke in that room. I'm sure.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a smaller room than, and it's got no bar. I don't think, or
Oh no,
has it?
oh no, it's got a bar.
Got a
That's
bar. It's on the right hand side.
yeah, the right hand side
I
of
know
the
where you are.
stage. And that's obviously a really big draw. You know, there's nothing better than getting to watch a local band playing on a stage that is like 2 centimeters off the floor.
Yeah,
And the
a
thing, and
tiny
you can,
small room.
it's not that small really. It's a lot
Ish.
wider than it is
Yeah,
long, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But they do have a proper sound desk and PA and stuff like that.
yeah.
And obviously the bar's right there next to the stage, that kind of thing. So you're never going to miss a bit of the action.
Yeah, I mean that's
Um,
always what you're wanting at a gig is a proper sound
Aye,
desk.
absolutely, you know. And the sound, it holds up well for what it is, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like the bands have a lot more control over how they're going to sound because obviously with the size of the room, I don't think there's much point in making up the drums.
yeah,
A lot of the time as well, I'm sure the guitar sound is just coming directly from the amps, which you know me, I love.
yeah,
You know, if I can like feel the vibrations in my teeth from the actual amp sound, then that's a big plus in my book. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like with Flying Duck, I'd be repeating a lot of what I'd be saying with places like Stereo. I feel like
yeah.
it shares a lot in common with Stereo and the old hairdressers, which I'll
You will
mention.
get to. Yeah,
I'll get
I'm
to
just
that.
surprised that Flying Duck isn't higher up in your list because I was sure that you had it higher up before.
It's one of my favourites. I've
Yeah,
not been to as many gigs there as venues I'm about to discuss,
yeah,
which is the only reason it's come in sixth on my list, but it still has an important place in my heart. And I feel like it's kind of like Tuts in the sense that it's a really cool spot to check out if you're coming through Glasgow
yeah,
and you're just wanting a really chill place that's relaxed and doesn't have any, or doesn't hold any pretensions. You can just come in as you are, that kind of thing, and just be yourself. No one's going to judge you. Just go there and have a good time. And if there's a gig on, even better, you know.
yeah. Just be prepared to like climb up the wee hill that you have to go to get to it. Like it's kind of a wee bit in the outskirts of the city centre, but not as
Yeah,
much as other places.
yeah. Be prepared to get strange looks from the unfortunate people who are working in the Tesco bank just outside it, that kind of
In
thing.
Cineworld.
Yeah, probably wishing that they could also like go to a bar and enjoy a good gig, you
Yeah.
know. But it is what it is.
But yeah, my number five is kind of in a similar. I think we'll both be talking about it at some point, so just cut in if you've got yours at a similar position. Mine's is Block.
That's it's not next on my list, but it is fourth. But I feel like I could
We just talk
probably,
about it the now because then,
yeah, I could
yeah,
probably just cover most of it now with yourself. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Right, so apparently it's an 80 capacity venue, which is optimistic. Like 80 capacity, is that counting the full? It's a bar and a venue kind of in the one room. So I don't know whether they're counting 80 as part of that. But anyway, it's kind of part of the appeal is that it's you go and Blockhouse does really good food as well.
Oh, the food's
But you know, you can go for food and there'll just be a band playing. So like you could just be having a burger and you'll just have like
yeah,
the noisiest like disgusting band playing while you're just eating your burger. It's great. Like,
It's great, like you're saying. It's awesome getting to see pure devastating sludge on stage, and you're just sitting there enjoying the best pizza in town.
yeah. Like
You know,
we've said before, like when we've been to Block, you know which people are there for the gig and you know which people are there just to eat because
I
like
love it for that aspect of it as well because
yeah,
it really is a kind of like it's awesome if you're going there for a gig and you're also going to get food,
yeah,
but you do have to like I don't even know if I feel really sorry for people who are being subjected to absolute terror and noise, that kind
yeah.
of thing. But
Like
they
yeah,
can't be surprised, you know what I mean? It's
it's
like,
fine. Just eat your nice food. It's fine.
yeah,
Just
totally.
yeah. Like when
It's
we
fun. It's
saw
funny for that aspect, just seeing the pure confused faces out there. Like, why would there's a guy like
climbing onto
climbing a
the
drum
like
kit, trying to
yeah,
jump to like a chair or something, you know?
yeah. So that was both Dead by Monday and El Nuno that happened in Dead by
Yeah,
Monday, another local band. Check them out.
they're
Um,
awesome.
and the last gig that like well, it's not is it the last gig you saw as well, Torpor at
Yeah,
Block?
it's up on still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we both saw those bands and it was like
absolute doom.
yeah, like just
Proper devastating, claw your eyes out riffs.
yeah, and it was probably the best way to go to gigs, like the last gig to have before
Yeah,
this.
like I said, it was just so surreal that that was like, you know, this proper heavy, emotive, crushing, like, you know, destroying music, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I'm not even exaggerating, you know, they were that heavy.
yeah. They
They were
were
like
like
they were like
genuinely like one of the heaviest bands I've seen.
they were like now levels of heavy, you
Yeah.
know.
Um, it
And then
was
it was just like kind of you did have this kind of impending sense of doom the whole
yeah,
time. I
yeah,
remember like because it gets really, 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 really warm in there,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Because I think it was still kind of cold, and I was like, it was still kind of winterish, and I was wearing a big winter jacket.
yeah,
How foolish of me! And I remember getting this pure hot sweat, thinking, "Oh God, is this that corona that we're talking about?" But like, and so kind of feeling like worrying that I was maybe dying, that kind of
yeah.
thing. I don't know.
And everybody was kind of like
Yeah,
separated from each other as well,
yeah.
but
It's just
obviously everybody was still getting into it, like pure
yeah,
swaying and head bopping and that. But
yeah.
at a
Yeah.
distance, it was odd, but it worked.
I
It
should
was
add
good.
as well, this was way before social distancing. I wasn't just being ignorant.
Yeah,
So, like, I would have been
like, yeah,
sensible. But fortunately, this was in the before in times, so
yeah. Everybody was kind of like still cautious. They were like, if you heard, I'm pretty sure I had a cough then. Like, I'm right. None of me like maybe we had coronavirus. I don't know, but at the time I had a cough, and you just
yeah.
felt so like get away from me, and
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
was just looking at you.
I do
Um,
distinctly remember giving someone the pure stank eye
yeah.
because they were in the gentleman's and didn't wash their hands, you know.
Uh,
And
um,
I'm sitting washing my hands, puking, you know.
right. Anyway, that
Anyway,
we took a wee diversion there. Yeah, like Block. And another thing I need to mention about Block is that they're another ethical venue. Probably
yeah, the one of the best in the
Probably,
league for that.
yeah, they're probably the best venue for it in Glasgow because even though the other ones are good for like DIY bands and stuff, like Block pays like the bands, like you know, most bands get a cut, but Block will feed the bands that play in, and it's
Yeah,
always free. It's a free gigs all the time. Doesn't matter who's playing it. Just something like you can just show up at a night, and there'll be bands on most nights. Just show up and there'll be a really cool band playing most of the time. Different genres, just go. It's free, get some food. They have pizza till 3 a.m., which is another amazing thing. After your
big
gig, just get
plus.
pizza.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just I can't really recommend Block enough. I just wish that I'd been going to Block more than what I have, and it would probably be higher up if I had.
I've definitely lost track of the amount of gigs I've been there. I'm sure, again, like there's been like kind of points in my life where I've been going to just gigs non-stop for like a week or two.
Yeah,
Like most of them have probably been gigs at Block, you know.
yeah. I mean,
It's awesome.
once this all blows over, Block's probably going to be the first place that I go, just because,
Oh yeah,
like,
definitely. I miss it so much. It's one of
yeah,
the like in the sense that I was talking about Fan Club being one of the bands I miss seeing live the most. Block is definitely one of the places I just in general miss being at, you
yeah,
know, so much. Not just for gigs, but also just it's got a good atmosphere,
yeah.
good ambience, good aesthetic. It's got all the A's, so
Just it's silly.
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so I think we're on to Ross's five because we've basically just we've done my five and Ray's 4, so
Four,
Ross is
yeah.
at 8.
Uh,
Numbers.
well, my 5 is basically just we've already had the O2 Academies, so I'll just say a wee bit on it. It's essentially became my ABC because, like I say, the ABC kind of went on fire like just as I was getting into gigs, so I've seen most of them there. It was the place where I went to my first gig like on my own, which was Trivium, which apparently you were at, Joe, before I actually knew who you were.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just ashamed like my last gig there wasn't one of the best ones because I had to get seating and it was Disturbed who were good,
Oh,
but
yeah.
just because it was seating I was just like roasting, just wanted to get out. It just wasn't the same.
Didn't
But
Skindred support that? Was that the weird gig?
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was Kindred, yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, they support. Wait, like another O2 Academy throwback here. Skindred also supported Steel Panther when I saw them at the O2 Academy, and I was also seated.
That's a weird mix.
Like, what?
I'm,
Skindred,
I'm mad lineup.
Skindred just play whatever gig. Like, but sitting at that gig was odd. Like, sitting at the O2 is odd.
I mean, you could get anything at like the O2 as well because you get. I saw like Alvama there, and you had like 60-year-olds doing a mosh pit to Blue Suede Shoes.
Yeah.
It's a weird place, but I love it.
Yeah,
It's a
like I
laugh.
think the O2 Academy just has literally everything because it's all the kind of mid tier to big bands. But yeah, it's pretty good. I think
Yeah,
not got much. Yeah, I've not got much more to add to that. Don't
yeah.
worry.
I'll just move on to Ray again.
Is
It's
Ray's no, it's
my
me,
number
isn't it? It's me because you've done your number 4. It's on
That's his
to.
5, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sorry, you're 5.
Yeah, numbers.
Numbers. The
Numbers.
lockdown brain.
Right. But number 5 would be
Yes.
broadcast. Now, broadcast is a little bit out the way. It's right at the bottom end of Sucky Hall Street, up by, well, crossing the garage. So I suppose it's not that far away.
It's the other
But
cluster of gig venues in Glasgow. You've got your city
yeah,
centre ones and your Sucky Hill Street ones.
that whole part of town is quite good because you've
Yeah,
got so many. You've got quite a good like kind of. You've got lots and lots of great bars next to each other, but some of those are also great venues. So
yeah.
that's just as good. Again, you will, listeners, notice a kind of recurring pattern here where I just like, you've probably noticed by now
If things are
that
falling off the walls, then Ray
things
will
are
like
falling
it.
off the walls
Yeah,
and you can see bricks showing and this floor is a little bit sticky
and you
and you
always
have
think that the place could just collapse at any moment.
yeah, and you have to kind of watch your feet in case you miss a step,
Yeah,
that kind of thing, just
yeah,
for the weird design of the stairs, then I'll probably enjoy it as a venue.
yeah.
But the broadcast is really cool. It has this kind of feel where it feels like you're kind of again stepping back in time to like one of these like some mad venue or nightclub that you'd get in like a holiday park or something. Do you know what I mean? Like because it's got these like lo-fi disco lights, it's got like tinsely kind of stuff hanging off the ceiling and things like
Are
that.
you talking about Butlins or something?
Well,
Or Centre Parks?
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, pretty much. I'm
Like
talking about balance. You know,
I've
yeah. So
never
you know
had.
what I mean.
No, but
Yeah.
like no, I've never had broadcasted Butlins come into the same like sentence before.
Not like balance. I think what I mean is like quite warmly lit,
Yeah,
lots of disco lights and stuff. And for me, that creates this like imagery of like being back in the 90s. I
right.
suppose I'm coming from, and like I suppose
Not
holiday
Butlins.
parks, not Butlins, but that kind of places where you kind of see that stuff the first
Yeah,
time. Suppose it's like that kind of way where, for me, it's got kind of nostalgic vibes about it, as well as kind of lining up with my current aesthetic, that kind of thing.
I couldn't.
Um, yeah, but no, I quite enjoy it. Again, it's a kind of nostalgia thing because um, over like the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen so many great bands come through then of different varieties too. I remember going to see the last gig I'd been there was a kind of French electro pop kind of duo called Tempers, and they were amazing. And they were supported by Jessica 93, who's one of
Oh
my
yeah,
favorite
yeah, yeah.
artists. He's amazing. He's basically a one-man band.
Yeah.
And he does everything. He'll set up like a sample on guitar on a loop, and then he'll put that down, pick up a bass, and then start playing over the top of that while doing vocals.
Yeah.
And he had a drummer with him that time, so that was pretty cool to see. It's really good as well in terms of the layout. You go in through the front door, and the
You
bar
get
is
like
right there.
yeah.
The
You go
bar is awesome.
downstairs.
I had many greats out in the bar, but you go downstairs down that spiral staircase, and you'll see. If you go there yourself, you'll see why I'm saying you need to watch out when you step because some of those
Yeah.
spirally, metally ones. So you fall down that, you're gubbed.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you're going to a gig's probably just best having your drinks downstairs rather than upstairs.
Yeah, pretty much, and that brings me on my next point. The
Yeah.
bar's right there as you walk in. Merch stand is usually right there. Plenty of places that sit around the side,
Yeah.
and you don't really. I like in broadcast. It's one of these places where there's this kind of unspoken rule about it being. Obviously it's a given wherever you go, but when the artist that you're going to see starts playing, people aren't really sitting down. They will, they'll be respectful and stand up and actually enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than just seeing people are just sitting to the side and
Mhm.
kind of just watching. But
Yeah.
it's like you need to be here, like be part of it. And
Yeah.
broadcast is one of these great small intimate venues where you really can be a part of it because again, it's kind of like flying duck in the sense that the stage is like, oh, it's only a few centimeters off the floor,
Yeah.
you know, but you can get right up close to it. You remember when we went to go see All Is in Love there, kind
Yeah.
of thing?
The only
And
proper gig I've been to at broadcast.
yeah, oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
But
know. That's why it's not on the list.
that's fair enough. But no, that was you remember yourself. You
Yeah.
were pretty close up to that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they were awesome. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I seen Big Spring there, and they're one of my favourite bands.
Yeah.
Just good grungy rock. Woman theme again, yeah. I like Brick Shone. I like grunge music. I'm a simple man.
I see grunge music. I click like.
Pretty much, yeah. So
Yeah.
another great place as well, where you go up to the merch stand and you can sit and chat away to other musicians. You know, good times all around. What else can I say?
Yeah. I think I'm just going to throw in here that like broadcast. I know you're probably going to talk about Nice and Sleazy's later, but for me, those two venues are very similar. Like in my mind, that it's hard to kind of distinguish them sometimes. Like sometimes I forget which one's which.
Yeah, I mean they're basically the mirror of each other, aren't they? But
Yeah.
that's
Aren't they
like
next door as well?
I think the next door teacher. I'm pretty sure the next door teacher. They're
Yeah.
basically the exact same way but mirrored.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and it's also funny because broadcast does have that nice kind of warm disco indie poppy
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like vibe to it.
Yeah, that's
Whereas,
the one thing I've noticed is like Sleazy's will book more kind of like rock and metal bands, whereas
yes,
broadcast is kind of like
kind
stuff
of
I'm not really interested in. That's how I've only been to one gig there,
yeah.
really.
Again, they'll put on stuff from like rock to kind of softer indie pop, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. And right next door to Sleazy's, you've got this pure leathery, sweaty, punky vibe.
yeah, definitely.
Like it basically, it's like if a leather jacket was a venue. But
Yeah,
I'll discuss that
yeah.
more later on.
Right. So a number four is St. Luke's. Again, I've only been to two gigs here, but it's left so much of an impression because of how it looks and how it sounds. Like I would say it's the best looking venue in Glasgow, like hands down. Like if you are inside that room, the stained glass, like the organ and the lighting,
Yeah,
it's just
that's this.
like
This is all stuff I forgot to point out before,
yeah.
but I
That's how I
totally
didn't
agree
say
there.
anything.
Yeah,
It's like kind of like the Oran
definitely agree.
Moor. It's probably the like city said like the kind of East End version of the Oran Moor.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just like I've seen marmosets there, strangely enough, but like Wolves in the Throne Room is the one that stands out for me. Like that kind of atmospheric black metal sound, just with like the
I can,
church,
man,
the church stuff and the fog, and oh, it was just amazing.
yeah, I can definitely imagine that being like a really interesting kind of contrast there, but I can also see it working really well. You
Yeah,
know, Again, I've seen like Mudhoney there,
yeah,
so you wouldn't think that would really work, but no, it worked really well. So it has got this weird kind of adaptability to
yeah.
whoever's playing there. You
I
know.
think the sound is just really good, and I think it just any band that plays there, it just works. Like,
Yeah, totally. And again, I've probably said it before, but you've never really heard a bad thing about it.
nah. I mean, it's
You
only
know?
recently kind of been putting on gigs because it only got renovated in I think 2017. But
Something
in
like
the
that, yeah.
short time that it's been a venue, it's like it's hard like to overlook it. But yeah,
Definitely.
it would be higher up for me if there was I'd been to more gigs probably, but I couldn't put it any higher than a four at for now anyway.
Well, hopefully next. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know about next year, but when fun can resume, hopefully
yeah.
that will change. I do know one of the gigs I was most gutted about not happening there this year was L7 in
Oh
June.
yeah, I think that's been rescheduled, so we'll probably hopefully
Yeah,
get to that.
yeah, it was weird
Creeper
because
was supposed to be there as well, which would have been
yeah,
unreal.
I did
And a
think about
church,
getting a ticket to that as well.
yeah.
It's so
Uh,
good.
well,
Hopefully, I'll be able to get one if someone's selling one close to the time. Listeners, if venues are selling a creeper ticket, hit me up.
I think we'll be good by then, hopefully.
Cool.
But yeah, I think we're on to Frost's number 4.
Um, as one you actually had at number 10, I went for Garage for this one.
Oh, that's
More,
high.
mainly, it's mostly for the main room because with the
Yeah.
others, I've never actually been in the attic, and the only time I've been to the
Oh, you've been in the
G2
attic, Conjurer?
was that not G2?
No, that's the attic.
Oh,
G2
right,
is like slightly bigger than that. Yeah.
right. So I've been to the attic, but I've not
Yeah.
been to G2, so
Yeah,
opposite.
that's right.
Uh, but the main room, I don't know. I mean, I've been to quite a few gigs there now, and it's for like so many different genres, and it just seems to work so well. Like even from like big deathcore bands like Thy Art Is Murder, Fit for an Autopsy, it just hits that kind of impact. And then even like metalcore bands like Ice Nine Kills, they're able to hit that sound. But again, it's more because of the crowd, and it's probably not higher up because you do get those guys that like to go in mosh pits and throw spin kicks for some reason. I don't really get those
Yeah.
guys, but they seem to be
Yeah.
everywhere now.
Yeah, they
You're going to the wrong gigs if you're trying to avoid spin kickers.
going to death metal shows and metalcore and not like
Being
spin kicking's
shocked,
just part of the equation
yeah,
here.
going to a
Yeah,
metal gig and being shocked that people are expressing themselves using their body,
I've
Yeah,
seen
which
it's
is the only way that some people don't like.
nah, it's not, I know what he means though because
Yeah,
it's
no,
the artist murder was pretty
what outrageous.
oh just I'm kind of done with metalcore shows like just but I think the garage is it's because when it's really crowded it's just really difficult to avoid that like on other
Aye,
venues you're maybe able to kind of walk away from it but the garage if there's a mosh pit it takes up nearly the full room it's just
yeah,
but anyway like yeah the garage is despite all that it's still like
I
a good
enjoy it.
venue yeah
All I like it for gigs. That's it.
absolutely.
That's it. Not as a
It,
nightclub.
it's,
yeah
I mean, it's got more pros and cons, I will say, that kind of thing.
yeah like most
I mean,
venues in Glasgow
yeah, I suppose it's a given. With the garage in particular, the main room, like any band I've seen there, there might have been sound issues, but I've always walked away having had a good time. And I've seen all sorts of people there. I've seen like bands from like Living Colour to Monster Magnet to like Crystal Castles.
yeah
The list goes on. Just no two bands the same. Really, it's great. Alien Ant
yeah
Farm as well. They were really not. They were a
oh
really odd one as well, but they were
you
awesome.
went to that
Yeah,
wow
they were great, man.
nice. I'm on to number 3. Again, another controversial one because I've got the Hydro at number 3. I love a big band. Like I know that it's completely opposite to what Ray's been saying, but see when you go and see like some of the biggest bands in rock and metal, and it's just full of people that are just enjoying it. If it's a sold out show and it's at least an energetic crowd, sometimes the crowd sucks. Like let's be real, but
Mhm.
like I've seen so many like again nostalgia, but also recently like Slipknot, Ghost, Slayer, Alice Cooper. I was sitting for that, but still super cool. Black Sabbath, Metallica, Biffy Clyro. I don't remember Blink-182. There's just like that's just some of the top ones. There's loads. Yeah, we've already kind of talked about it, but
I mean, the one I always think about, like quite often, still to this day, from the Hydro is definitely Ghost. Like
yeah, that was a really good show.
that was amazing. I was actually like listening to Tribulation the other day, who
Yeah,
also supported them, and all them witches as well. Proper like Hendrix vibes. I know they
yeah.
weren't really your cup of tea, Joe, but
I liked them.
yeah, just I mean, I had the impression you weren't really mad on them based on
I
the
think
review.
it was mostly the crowd. I think like just
Uh,
it was an odd pick like for that gig.
Yeah,
Like
I can see that because it was a kind of like I'm sure what Tribulation started first,
yeah,
and then it was
and then they
all
came
the
on and it was a
witches.
bit kind of like people
Yeah.
just seemed to go to the bar because it was
You go
completely
from
different.
like super hyped to like chilled out vibes
Yeah,
to then
oh, it was
suddenly it's Ghost,
yeah. Yeah, it was just an odd pick. Like they were good, but just one of those things. You're like, why did they
Aye,
get picked for this gig?
aye,
Like,
I'll get that. But Ghost were amazing. Like
yeah,
when I first seen them on the Jaeger tour, I'd always been a fan of them since I loved the like, early lo-fi stuff. I think it was
yeah.
around Papa 1, Papa 2. Then obviously Square Hammer that came out,
Oh,
and
what a
they
tune.
had a huge like kind of upsurge of interest kind of
Yeah,
thing. And they headlined Bloodstock, and I remember thinking, they're pretty cool, but they're really different to the Ghost I liked back then. But
yeah.
I still enjoyed them. But seeing them at their own show with
Oh
like
yeah,
all the bells and whistles,
yeah.
like
Because like
totally changed my tune.
the last time I seen Ghost before the Hydro was actually at the ABC, and then they played the ABC after that, but I missed it. But they never
Uh,
played like the O2 Academy. Like they
was
just jumped
that
straight from the ABC to Hydro.
was that by chance the one you missed? Was that by chance the one where they were supporting Alice in Chains in like is either the ABC or the Academy or something like that?
I'd completely forgotten about that. I mean, like a headline show, it was at the ABC,
Oh, right, okay, because I know they supported like Alice in like 2013 or something like that, which,
And
what a lineup.
that was before I seen them at the ABC. They played the ABC in like 2014 and 2015, I think it was, or
Oh,
2016.
right, okay,
But
yeah.
yeah, to see them going the last time I saw them at the ABC, they still had a really good stage show, but
Oh no, they always have done.
you can only have so big a stage show at the ABC. But seeing that just ramped up to like
Yeah.
100
It's
with
just
like the
really cool to
disco balls and just the mad lights and the like
a whole
church,
step.
the whole
Uh,
church, like yeah, oh it was crazy. But like yeah, they're download headliners like now,
oh
and
man,
that show just kind of highlighted that.
I'd love to see them
Um,
at download. I hope they come back to Bloodstock as well at some point. I think they're maybe too big for it now, but
yeah, oh yeah.
never say never.
Yeah, but like, yeah, the Hydro just highlights some of those shows where you just my kind of love for like the massive like 80s just pop and rock music.
It's
You know,
basically pop
she's
metal.
yeah, but like it's the kind of extravagant. Like you're never going to see as an extravagant show at a small venue. Like I love the theatre of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the crowd sucks. Like you see like Def Leppard and the crowd is just like,
Mm.
ooh, play that one song we know.
I know this is the kind of problem with bigger venues like the Hydro. You will
Yeah,
get the kind of, again, without being hopefully without sounding like a snob about it, but
casuals.
the casuals, basically,
Yeah,
the ones who make a proper night out of it. Like they've
yeah.
been bevying since like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon as gig pre-drinks kind of thing, but
Yeah,
like they're really just kind of using the gigs as an excuse to get like proper levered anyway.
yeah. That's
So
like again, that's one of the only drawbacks I have to like the Hydro is some of the bad experiences I've had are just like either a kind of lackluster crowd or an annoying crowd. But like it still
yeah,
doesn't take away from the really like the amazing shows that I've seen. Like it would be higher up if it wasn't for those aspects, but
definitely.
like
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely my favourite gig I've seen at the Hydro. Definitely got to be Placebo though, and their 20th anniversary tour.
yeah,
All the hits. Like really mixed crowd there. Really cool to see. That they have such an interesting fan base there. And you wouldn't really see that in a venue other than the Hydro, just because of the
yeah,
size. You've got the younger ones with like bright pink hair.
yeah,
And then you've got the older ones who, again, were probably our age back in the 90s when they were really big.
yeah,
Then you've got me in the middle greeting my eyes out. But yeah, it's again like really good like venue for just all walks of life to
yeah.
come. You know,
I'm just here to represent Hydro. Like, stop,
that's fair enough.
just stop giving it grief. Like, it's a good arena, right? Like, move on. What
Anyway,
about number three? Is Ross's number three?
No, mine's is again. This is one you had earlier. I was like one of the top of your list, the bottom of your list was
Yeah.
Catty.
Your list is just mine, but in reverse.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Catty's kind of a weird one because I feel like I've been there more. I don't know how to say it, like by accident because it's kind of like gigs tend to get moved there from certain
Yeah,
other venues that we might not
yeah,
mention.
yeah,
yeah.
But again, it's one I've not really had like a bad experience at. Mostly like great ones. Like one of the best gigs I've ever been to was with our friend Nathan. We went to see Conjurer and Insomnium, and again, it's just one of those gigs you just remember forever. You know what I mean?
yeah. You've probably been more recently than I have, like the Catty, because again,
Probably.
the gigs that have been put on there.
And
Not
again,
so
it
much.
seems to work with like different sort of metal genres as well, even like
Yeah,
thrash, like Sacred Right. I think the only bad one I had was Flesh God Apocalypse, but again, I think that's just because they got moved like last minute and didn't
yeah,
really get a chance to set up, so I
Yeah,
don't really blame the venue for that.
it's like their show is would so much be better suited to again like the Academy or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I,
Just
I do
something
feel bad
bigger.
for them. I
Yeah,
feel
But
bad for them to get a bit
yeah,
properly.
they're a great band. I remember seeing them at Podstock. I want to say 2015. Could be totally wrong in saying that, but
yeah,
they were amazing. I was on like the Thursday or Friday night, so it's like one of the first bands of the weekend that you've seen. Like
Whatever
your
that feeling.
proper face melting.
yeah. Like, they should just keep booking really good bands because they've been on a really hot streak like recently, and just keep up because there was a
Yeah,
period of time where the Kitty just didn't have any gigs,
mm,
Mhm.
and
def. Mm.
it's a better venue than a lot of people give it credit for. So
It's the Catty is it's put on one of the gigs that I've got one of the biggest regrets about missing in my life, and that was when they put on Helmet with Local H supporting, and like God man, you know what a lineup. Do you know what I mean? Like
when was
two
that?
oh this was like 2016 16 or 17, not
Yeah.
long after I started getting into local H. I'd loved
Yeah.
Kelly for years, but like I'd started getting into local H, and I was like, I wonder if they've ever played Glasgow. And do we Google, and I'd only just missed that like gig by a couple of months, and I was like, damn man, because
Yeah.
anyone else listening who's into the 90s bands will agree that that's
Helmet are good.
Helmet amazing.
Yeah. On to number. Oh, is it Ray's number 3?
Number
Yes.
3, I believe we mentioned it earlier, Nice and Sleazy's, which,
Yes.
again, to reiterate, is right next door to broadcast. Exact mirror image in terms of the layout. You go from next door to broadcast is nice, poppy, synthy, indie-ish feels to just, again, imagine somewhere like 70s CBGBs, proper, like red leather seats at the side, bricks on the walls,
It's Nice and Sleazy is
gig
basically
posters falling off.
broadcast's evil twin brother.
Very much, like I say, it's basically if a leather jacket was a venue,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, I don't mean one year Primark leather jackets, I mean, like, a
Like the
leather
one that you've
jacket
had
that's
for
for the
40
pups.
years that's
Yeah,
disgusting.
it's got all
Yeah.
the spikes in it. It's got, all your like metal patches on it. It's got your punk patches. It's got rips in it. It's got a wee bit of tartan stitched on to patch up a hole. It's got like gigs and gigs and gigs worth of beer stains like on
Yeah.
like one elbow. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Great venue. I love it. I've seen mostly kind of punk and metal bands there.
Yeah.
I think one of the first gigs I'd been to there was to go see one of my favourite like local bands who are sadly no longer. I went to go see Anxiety there, and
Yeah.
anyone who follows the kind of local punk scene will know just how on point Anxiety were.
Yeah.
Great bands, just proper evil, evil, evil riffs. And they were supporting this band called Clocked Out, who were playing their very last gig there.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see because it was a kind of ceremonial, like the whole gig was basically billed as them giving, like, to quote verbatim, like giving the big Borowski, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it was a total thing made of it. Guy was like crowd surfing, and it's probably the most punk thing I've ever been at. Can I hang on? One of them anyway, this proper epitome of like a proper sweaty punk gig.
Yeah.
You've got this like punk front man just crowd surfing, and everyone's kind of like becoming this big human wave machine, trying to balance them, kind of thing. And it
Yeah.
just worked, and it's great. I also remember seeing all kinds of bands. I've seen Pile as well.
Yeah. I've heard of them.
Yeah, Pile are amazing. They're like weird, kind of, I don't even know what you'd call them, art rock maybe.
Yeah.
But they were they were awesome. They really kind of went to go to highlight the really good sound that's got in there. And that's the thing that Sleazy's and Broadcast have in common, because they're quite small rooms. They're
Yeah.
padded really well with like, foam and sound protection, stuff like that. So the sound's kept in really, really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's all quite well contained, like sonically.
Yeah. Yeah. We're hoping to go to more Sleazy's gigs once this is all over. Like
Absolutely. I think what was the one that we went to go see? We went to go see uh,
Bismuth and
Smith
Body
and
Void.
Body Void and Cartilage, and that was just
Another absolutely disgusting gig that was like just
yeah,
doomed to the face.
absolutely. And like again, just another one of the many gigs in which Cartilage, shout out to yous, totally knocked it the park.
Yeah.
Like two-piece sludge doom evilness,
Yeah.
and man,
It,
they just sounded massive in there.
yeah. It worked really well on Sleazy's. Like I'll totally be up for going to more gigs there once
Yeah,
this is over.
that was definitely like, I think that was my first gig of this year, kind of thing, and
Um,
man, that set things up to a really good standard.
yeah.
And it just sucks so much that I've not really been able to experience anything like that since, but hopefully it won't be too long, like you say, till we can actually get back to that.
Yeah, like they're smaller venues, so hopefully we'll be quicker getting back to them.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's hoping.
Yeah. One venue we won't be getting back is my number 2, which RIP, go to ABC. Recently we got the bad news that the ABC will most likely be getting demolished and
Sucks,
probably
man.
turned into student flats. It totally breaks my heart. ABC is going to be not there anymore. Like, it was 2018, obviously, if most people are aware that the fire on Sucky Hall Street has totally obliterated most of the building alongside like everything that's around it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, like ABC is another nostalgic venue for me, but it was always one of my favourites because what's not to like?
I think it really goes without saying it's probably been a really, really big foundation of, going to gigs for people. Like for
Yeah,
probably most people that we know, it's probably been one of the very first venues they've ever been to.
yeah,
To go see either, again, showcasing the kind of versatility of that venue, either a big band coming through, a
yeah,
mid-tier band, or even their mates band.
yeah,
It had such a big place in the local scene here. And the kind of, I don't even know how many O2s there are in Scotland, but just for that, it was probably a really big part of the kind of music industry in Scotland in
yeah.
general.
I mean, yeah, when you think of O2, you think of, oh, the O2 brand, and it's just like, the kind of
It's total
just to
landmark
buy,
stuff.
like no, I mean, like when O2 went and bought,
All the
venues like
venues.
the Academy used to be Carling or whatever.
Hmm.
You just think it's like, oh, a company buying a venue that isn't probably designed for music and making it into the O2 venue. But like the ABC's different. The ABC always felt like a venue. It was
Yeah,
originally a theatre, but it just worked for music. Like the
yeah,
disco, like the disco ball in the middle, the huge disco ball. Just the
yeah.
the
How
ABC
many
was
rooms were there?
amazing.
How many rooms were there?
Two, I
Aye.
think. I was never in the second one, but the main room is the one that you think of when you think of the ABC.
Yeah,
The
I've been to a
sound was
couple of gigs in there.
always the sound was always like great. Like I'd never been to a gig there where the sound sucked. Pretty much everywhere you stood in that venue, you could see the stage because once again you had like at the
The kind
side
of raised part at
raised
the back
bits at the
with the
side, you had
bars.
the raised bit at the back, you had like a kind of high-ish ceiling, but not too high. The stage was high enough that you could see it at every kind of possible place.
Merch stand in a
Yeah,
part where that's quite sensible.
yeah, yeah. I miss the ABC. Like it's so important to people because it's this mid-sized venue that has gave so many bands like a platform to do bigger things. Like I've seen Skindred headline there. I've seen While She Sleeps, Creeper, Cancer Bats, Gojira, New Found
Oof,
Glory,
nice. Yeah.
Hailstorm. So many. There's other bands, but those are like the highlights, and they were all just
It
incredible
was
shows.
it's definitely one of those venues where it really kind of lended a lot of itself to a band's presentation for the live show, if that
Yeah,
makes sense. So, if a band has like an intricate like stage setup, or they've got like even something as simple as like a light show combined with backdrop images, that kind of
yeah,
thing, or backdrop videos or whatever, still works really well. And things like you're saying, the disco ball
yeah,
only just, added more to that. I remember seeing, I think one of the last gigs I'd seen there was Slow Dive, the
yeah,
shoegaze band. And as you can imagine, it's all about just that, creating that dreamy atmosphere. They
yeah.
had like the lights, they had, I'm sure they had maybe fake smoke. I don't know.
Probably.
Could just be making up in my head, but they definitely had background images, and it
Yeah,
was just coolest thing ever, man. It was
yeah,
like when I think of like experiencing shoegaze in person, goes without saying, I usually think of that Slow Dive show first.
yeah. It's like Gojira had that same thing of like the kind of screen in the background. Like the ABC was always just big enough to have at least like a decent stage setup, but it always felt intimate. It never felt like you were a million miles away from the band you were watching. Like they're right there in front of you. Even when I saw Ghost, like they're right there. Like you were never, even when you're at the back of the venue, you feel like you're close to the front. Or you did. R.I.P.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never remember having a bad spot in there, especially in the
nah.
big of them.
It's just it's totally missed and it's never probably going to be replaced because even though we've had gigs moved to like SWG3 or similar sized venues, it's just not the same.
I
And I
know.
wish I wish they hadn't made this decision because of how much it means to people, even outside of music, like the clubs that they had.
It's
Don't
just,
knock it
it's just,
down. I know you've
it's
made
just,
the decision, but
it's just the
like
kind of way they've went about it. It feels quite as if they didn't. I don't know. I could just be talking nonsense, but it just really feels like they didn't really go out their way to preserve what
yeah.
what you'd agree is such a big part of music history here.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just a venue. It's like, nah, like you don't understand.
it's
Like,
not just a venue, man. It's a
yeah,
way of life.
yeah. But anyway, I'll just end up agreeing if I keep
Aye.
going. So, on to Rossi's number two.
My number two, again, another one that was on your list, Joe, a bit earlier on, was the Classic Grand.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm similar to you in the case I've actually only had like two sort of bigger gigs there,
Yeah.
but just because the way I mean, there was me and you did go to Knock Loose, and that one was just crazy
Oh,
with the way the crowd was. The sound was
yeah.
amazing. Um, and the one that kind of put it over the edge for me was I can't remember when I went. Was it November last year? I went to see Napalm Death, and
Oh,
again
yeah, yeah.
they were playing with like a bunch of like grindcore and thrash bands, and it was just
It was
I
like
wasn't
five or six bands on that lineup, wasn't there? It
yeah,
was
it was a lot.
crazy.
It was a long night. Like I didn't even stand at like the main bit. I kind of stood at the back, but even just
Yeah.
like standing at the back on the barrier, you could just like feel the intensity of everything, just the way the sound was. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to have another big gig there in the future at some point.
Like again, yeah, classic grand. Put gigs on, be a venue, don't just keep hosting like wrestling venue like gigs or whatever. Just
The
music.
wrestling's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got a lot of potential as a venue, you know. I
It's
just
Yeah.
just they just need
feel,
to use it properly.
yeah, I mean, not to say like it feels overshadowed, like, but it feels a little bit, I don't know, forgotten, maybe by
Yeah.
bookers. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of potential in it still. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe who knows? It might just
Just
step up
after
to the
this
forefront again after
coronavirus
this.
thing, just go for it. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
Right.
could do
So
it.
we're on to raise number two.
Sweet. Number two, the old hairdressers, which again another one of Glasgow's nicely kept secrets. Although not really, if you know you've now by now figured out where Stereo is, you'll have figured out that the old hairdressers is right across the alleyway.
Yep.
Again, I love this place, man. Like it's not. I have lots of good memories here, not just for gigs, but for nights out in general, catching up with pals. Because I don't know, it's just got this nice atmosphere about it. You know, it's mostly candlelit. I know that
Yeah.
sounds like hopefully that doesn't sound too pretentious, but this, you know, how often do you really see that in a kind of bar slash venue?
Yeah.
What I like about Old Hairdressers is not just a venue for gigs, but they put all sorts in there. It's a performance space, you know, so you could end up seeing like you know spoken word stuff or poetry readings or
Like kind of like political activism and things like that.
yeah, totally. And I love that you know
It's the DIY kind of ethos.
it gives that yeah it gives a cool platform to you know DIY like organizations or artists or I could go on.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
it's
I
just
don't. Neither
it's
me
a
or
really important
Ross have
place,
been
you
there,
know.
so
No.
yeah, it's another rave venue,
No,
another veggie one or vegan one, I think.
I'm pretty sure it is as well.
Yeah,
Like the funny thing is, I'm not even vegan or vegetarian,
yeah,
and
they just
yeah, it's
happen to be the ones that you
yeah,
like.
they just happen to be the ones I spend like most of my free time in,
Yeah,
kind of thing. But you know, great. It's really important place, really good vibes. It's run by like really nice, friendly people, which is always a big plus in my book as well. And I've got plenty of good memories in there as well. Again, from gigs. I think the last gig I went to there was again one of the very last ones before all this happened and it was Ex-Wives, being
yeah.
supported by Mod and Eat Freak. So just a good night of noisy, angry, metallic, noisy, evil, like fuzzy rock. You
Fits the
know?
theme right there.
Yeah, totally. Like I've been to again too many gigs there to count. I've seen so many punk bands there because again it is that kind of more DIY ethos, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's always a good time. And you always meet some friendly faces there. You know, chances are if you know anyone in the local music scene, you know, as a mate or just kind of a friendly face that you've bumped into before, Old
yeah,
Hairdressers is one of those great places where it's one of the ideal places in town you can just catch up with folk, you know,
yeah.
and
It's
enjoy a show.
probably it's this kind of size of venue that alongside maybe like Ivory Blacks, you'll see the same, probably the same faces at some of
Yes,
the gigs
sort
you
of.
go to.
Yeah, kind of. It's again in the same kind of way, like with Tuts, where you feel like
Yeah,
you're kind of contributing to the history.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really
yeah,
do feel like that you're kind of supporting your local scene by going there, and that kind of thing. And it's one of these places that totally cuts out the middleman. It cuts out bookers, promoters, things like that. It's just shows put on by the band, so the money is going to them. So you really do feel like you're kind of supporting bands where it matters, you know, other
yeah,
than obviously buying music and buying a T-shirt here and there. Yeah,
yeah.
I highly recommend it. So you can
Another
see
one of those DIY venues.
totally you can see why it comes up so highly on my list.
Yeah. So we're on to, I think, me and Ross's first pick, because I'm pretty sure we've got Barrowlands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So we'll kind of go this like together. The Barras, like another, it's like King Tut's. Like if you think of Glasgow and you think of the local music scene, Barras will be one of the first things you think of, and it's
Yeah.
totally deserved.
There's just something about it. It feels historical. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like you're like walking back in time as soon as you walk into the Barras. It's like it's the 70s again, and it's, not in a bad way. Like, I imagine the Apollo, when that was around, that would have felt like had a similar vibe. It's just, yeah, like it's so hard to encapsulate what the Barras is. Help me out,
It,
Ross.
it feels more special to me just now as well because at the moment it's the place with the last gig I saw before the whole virus kicked off, and
Yeah.
it was Testament with like Exodus and Death Angel, so it was just a loud as hell gig that just I'm still thinking about, and I just want to go back and see something else down there.
Yeah, last gig I saw was Baby Metal or The Interrupters. I can never remember which was which, but my God, like both of them, like every show that I've been to at the Barras has been 10 out of 10. Like, it's
Yeah.
not even an exaggeration, because the sound is like, again, it gets put on the top lists, of best venues in the world for a good reason. The sound, it's got that kind of vintage,
Kind of warm.
warm sound. Doesn't matter which band you're seeing, it's like the best that you'll ever hear that band. The floor bounces, so every time if a crowd is jumping, you feel it. I mean, yeah, I've seen so many bands. It's, like I say, Baby Metal, Interrupters, Airborne, Good
Yeah.
Charlotte, Hailstorm, Sabaton, Hailstorm, but let's not. Fun Atlantic, Royal Blood. Just those are some of the highlights, but guaranteed that if a band is playing there, it's going to be a show that I'm going to just remember forever, really.
It never feels too crowded either, which is always good.
Yeah,
Even
it's
for big bands like Killswitch that I've been to see there, it's just I've never felt like I was just boxed in. They always seem to manage it sort of perfectly.
yeah, that kind of reminds me of the layout of the Barras is just right for that size of venue. Like, there's no seats, which again improves it over the O2 Academy, but you still have like the kind of raised bit at the back if you're, in a wheelchair or whatever. So nobody's ever going to be left out of a gig there. You've got the kind of bar at the left hand side. You've got a tuck shop. You can buy crisps and a can of juice for like £1. It's if you
Maybe that's something that more venues should include after
Yeah,
all
like
this.
it's got that kind of old school vibe, like when you used to go to school discos and you would get like the wee tuck shop and that. It just
Wait, so why was it weird that I compared broadcast to Butlins, yet this flies? Nah, I'm kidding.
no, but only the tuck shop. The tuck shops were good. Butlins wasn't.
Yeah, I suppose
Come
it
on.
depends how fondly you remember the 90s, I suppose. I get what you mean, though. Like,
Yeah,
to
it's just
be serious for a moment, I like the
yeah,
old school vibe, you know?
yeah. I
Like,
mean, I get why. Like, I know you don't have it on your list, and I get why some people don't like it. It's a rough area, a rough venue.
it's not
It's
really, but so St. Luke's. I've not really been to many gigs there, which is
yeah,
really why I've not really mentioned it, but
yeah,
I enjoy it as much as the next person. And obviously I'm agreeing with all the points being mentioned here.
yeah.
Especially the fact that it's easy to get a good spot, and
Oh yeah,
let's say you have to go to the bog, and then you come back and your spot is probably still going to be there. You
yeah,
know, how often
yeah.
does that happen?
Yeah, because that's the thing. They have like the main room is never like taken up by kind of unnecessary space. Like, most of the space is there for the gig and the bar, which for most people that's all you need. Yeah, the bar is like it's just the best. Like, I don't think I'll ever like go to a venue that's better. And it's not me just being biased. It's like even bands that will play and say we always love playing this venue and we've heard so much about it. It's just legendary. Like, no other word to describe it. Bars.
No, I'd agree with that.
So we're on to Ray's number one.
Oh, my number one.
Yes.
How the time flies. Okay,
Oh,
this will probably be of absolutely no surprise to anyone who is, to either you guys or anyone who's made it this far. To anyone who has, well done to you. I tip my hat to
I
you,
know.
even though I'm not wearing a hat. I tip it to you. Number one is the 13th note,
Woo.
and 13th note is where do I even start? Well, I don't know. I suppose I'll just start in the kind of same fashion I have done for all the other ones, and firstly, kind of mention how good that vibe is, and of
Yeah.
course aesthetic and atmosphere, blah 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 blah. Um, nah, in all seriousness, no, it's again, I kind of rate these venues that I've kind of discussed on their importance in the underground music scene.
Yeah.
And 13th Note has always been, over the years, I've noticed. In fact, I think it was probably one of the first places I went to an underground gig at, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
like way
that's not
back
that,
when.
that's not surprising.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, years and years ago at this point. But it's such an important part of the local scene.
I mean,
It's
if you're
just,
if you're starting out, you're most likely going to play the
yeah.
13th note very early on,
So
and
it's a really accessible and universal venue again for
yeah,
all sorts of bands. Again, I've seen like noise rock bands, punk bands, metal bands. So
yeah,
I've seen like from the heaviest to like kind of more kind of alternative rock, I suppose. I think maybe one of the I'm trying to think the last gig I went to there. I actually can't, They all do kind of blend into one,
yeah,
that kind of thing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some of my favourite bands I've seen there have been bands that have kind of happened across accidentally.
yeah.
You know, there's a really good kind of festival that comes through Glasgow. It's called the 0161 Festival, and they just do,
Is it they're always at 13th? That's always at 13th note. Yeah,
as far as I know, yeah.
yeah,
So they put on, the finest of the finest of like local kind of heavier, noisier bands, let's say.
yeah.
So I've seen like I think it was an 0161 gig. I first seen Deathbed at, and you know how much I love Deathbed. Shout out to
Yeah.
you guys, love yous.
Once again,
Yeah, they're amazing.
if they
I
got
remember
if they listen to this and get this far, then like
that.
we need to buy them some drinks after this.
Yeah, then like we'll know that there's big fans of the blog as I am of them.
Yeah,
Which is all good in my book. But I remember because I think on that same bill they played, it was like Bracketus, another excellent band, like proper brat punk.
yeah.
Love Cartilage as well, and I've mentioned it before, like the
Just a
sludgiest of
proper
the sludgiest of
abrasive.
the sludgiest,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like just
abrasive, boom,
anvil to the head.
pretty
Like
much.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think Deathbed come on later that bill, and I'd always kind of been like, there's always a buzz around these guys, but I've
yeah,
never seen them before. And as soon as like they started playing, I was like, "Oh my god!"
yeah,
Like I've missed out on so much,
yeah,
because they'd already played town a handful of times, I'm sure. And I was
yeah.
just like, "Oh my god!" I've totally like, that whole gig in general, the proper energy that was going on that whole night. I'm pretty sure that was the lineup anyway. I could be wrong, but that is the kind of
It's like
general.
the kind of
It's the kind of general kind of
standard bearer of the kind of gigs that play there and how
yeah.
good they can be and how good the underground scene can be if you give it a chance.
No, absolutely. That kind of thing. Like, there's lots and lots and lots of like hidden gems within the
Yeah,
local scene, and 13th Note is always, without a doubt, one of the best kind of showcases of that. Plus, as well, again, cuts out promoters, cuts out the middleman. You're kind of supporting your local scene
yeah.
directly, that kind of thing, which is always a plus in my book.
Tickets
Um,
are always like a fiver, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
there's
Pretty
my
cheap.
yeah. The thing I always say to try and sell the venue and the kind of gigs they put on to people is the fact that there's nothing better than spending like £4 on seeing 6 or 7 bands.
Yeah,
How could you honestly go wrong? And
yeah,
9 times out of 10, you're gonna go home and like look up everything that all the bands have done.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? On
And
Spotify, YouTube,
yeah.
Facebook, whatever.
And you're
Yeah.
helping that band because most of the time it'll be one of the, if not the first shows that the band will be playing, and it'll, just take the time to just go and see a band that you've never heard of before, or give them a listen beforehand and go, I'm going to go to that gig and just spend like a tiny amount of money comparatively, and just help out a band, and they'll
Yeah.
maybe be able to make it. As opposed to if you don't, which again happens to so many because people don't go and just see a band. But like 13th Note, I've been once, and yeah, it's good. Like I need to go to more.
But yeah, maybe if we go enough times that, maybe one day Deathbed will be playing the Batters.
Yeah, imagine.
Oh man, would that really be such a bad thing?
No, no, because Barris
Exactly.
is the best venue in Glasgow.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But
I'm
could you
kidding. I'm
could
kidding.
you imagine could you imagine Deathbed and what is it, that mad quadraphonic sound Batters
Yeah,
is?
both like all three of our lists kind of come together, and like your kind of more DIY like smaller venues thing kind of coalesces into ours. Like just like once live music's back, just go to gigs. Like,
I think the good thing about all these venues is it really kind of encapsulates all those things to different degrees, you
yeah,
know. So there's something out there for everyone as well, and
yeah,
that on that kind of like note as well.
yeah, and it kind of rounds everything off, like for this kind of first or second, whatever podcast this is,
Mhm.
live music. Like we miss it, and once this is all over, just do everything you can to protect it because it's going to be really tough for
Yeah,
most venues out there, and this is why we're kind of doing this. Like, this is why we were doing the mag in the first place, and this is why we're doing the podcast, is just to support the local scene and obviously bigger bands as well, but mostly the local scene. Just keep it going. Glasgow is an amazing city. Like, biased again, but how many other cities can you have a top 10 and be excluding like at least half of the other venues that are there? Like all
it
three
is.
of our top tens, and there's still so many great venues and great bands. Yeah, I hope anybody who actually listened to this enjoyed it, and we'll try and do some more stuff in the near future. So
Spot we wave bye
So yeah,
bye.
yeah,
Bye bye.
we're still learning how to do this. So yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
so bear with us.
bye.
Goodbye.
yeah.